Appreciate it, Chief.
I got one in there.
I didn't know of anyone at the time of the mayor's briefing, but when I got you looking at the crowd tonight, I would think we would.
Good evening and welcome to each of you. It's 6 o'clock and there being a quorum of council, I call the City Council regular meeting of January the 11th, 2022 to order. At this time, I'd like to recognize Pastor Lanny Lancaster of Central United Methodist Church, who will give us an invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and sovereign God, we pause tonight to praise you. You are the source of all the gifts and resources that we enjoy here in Monroe and Union County. You are the source of new life through Christ, and your mercies are new every day. Thank you, Lord, for our city council and leaders in local government, for their time, energy, talents, and commitment to the people of this community. May your spirit of wisdom and grace infuse them for the good work of governance. May they make just decisions for the benefit of our whole diverse community. May they have the courage to lead the development of opportunity and growth for all of Monroe's citizens. Lord, especially tonight, we pray for healing for our people, healing for our land, and we pray for strength and protection for our healthcare workers and first responders. We pray for your justice, peace, and well-being for all our people. All this we ask in the power of your Holy Spirit and in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Lancaster. First order of business on the agenda will be public comment period. This is set aside this time for comments and according to the North Carolina General Statutes. We also can receive written comments, and we did not receive any, so I'll recognize the only person who had signed up, which is Mr. Bob Yanachek. Bob, if you would, as you know, just state your name, your address. You could take your mask off if you'd like to for clarity.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Bob Yanachek, 513 Everett Street. And my only comment is tonight, I know you can't respond during this period. However, item 20 is to where you guys are going to decide whether or not you continue to do electronic submission of public comment and public hearing concerns and go back to the pre-COVID policy. I think the fact that we all wear masks right now is an indication that we either need to table that item 20 or at least bring it to the first item on the agenda so we can discuss it with all these folks that are here today that obviously have concerns as far as where we're moving with the city. So my only comment is we either need to table item 20 until we're obviously out of any situation where people will not be able to attend a meeting, or go ahead and bring it up to the first item on the agenda so we can discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And now I'd like to recognize Interim City Manager Brian Bourne, who will present our consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear? Can you? Yes? Thank you. The City Council uses a consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine, The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. Item number 2 is an annexation request. This is a call for a public hearing to be held on February 8th, 2022 for annexation of 113.121 acres and to consider a zoning map amendment request to rezone 119.71 acres located along Dease Road from R40 City of Monroe and RA40 Union County to Conditional District Wellington, and to further consider as part of the public hearing a water and sewer development agreement for the project. Item 3, Tonawanda Park Master Plan, Phase 1B. This is a request of council to approve an award of contract for the construction of the Tonawanda Park renovation Phase 1B project to Fairwood Construction, LLC, in the amount of $1,484,925. Approve the purchase of the splash pad equipment from Vortex Aquatic Structures International in the amount of $170,006, and approve a budget ordinance in the amount of $850,000 to cover additional costs due to unforeseen circumstances for the construction of the project. Staff would also like to proceed with design of the Bearskin Creek Greenway Phase 3. This would be the Don Griffin Park to Creft Park connector with approval of Greenway Reserve funds, and authorize the interim city manager to execute all documents. Item 4, budget amendments for fiscal year 2022. General Services Committee and staff recommend approval of a budget ordinance to adjust the American Rescue Plan Act funding amount, a budget amendment for various budget adjustments for fiscal year 2022, and approval of the revised financial plan for the Workers' Compensation Fund. Item number 5 is a call for a public hearing to be held on February 8, 2022 for a zoning map and text amendment request to rezone property located along Oakland Drive and further identified with parcel number 09198-008 from Conditional District Sun Oaks to Conditional District Sun Oaks Amendment 1, and to further consider as part of the public hearing a water and service development agreement for the project. Item 6 is a Gateway Park sculpture donation from the Garden Club. This is to accept the donation of a sculpture from the Garden Club to be placed in Gateway Park. Item 7 is an interlocal agreement with Union County to provide public water rescue and hazardous materials response assistance to Union County fire departments. This would provide water rescue, hazardous materials response, and assistance to those departments, and approve the interim manager to execute the documents. Item 8 is minutes and reports. And this section of the consent agenda is for information purposes only. No action is required by City Council on the items I'll mention. A, financial reports from November 2021. Unassigned general fund balance is $4,546,897. Assigned general fund balance of $2,800,395. Items B through D are various committee and board minutes and reports. Item E is the summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and manager settlement of claims for December 2021. Contracts and change orders awarded for the month of December 2021 total $62,393.41. There are no settlement claims to report. Item F, tax releases for November 2021. There are no tax releases for the month of November 2021. G, utility fee grant program update. This is information being provided to fulfill reporting requirements of the utility fee waiver program and Resolution R 2015-41. The goal of the utility fee waiver program is to encourage homes to be built for people who are certified to be income eligible at the time of purchase and to ensure that the program is meeting city expectations. The utility fee grant program currently has a remaining balance of $26,172. Item 9 is the Monroe Social District. This in North Carolina General Statutes, specifically sections 168 through -205.4 and 18B-904.1 allows for the creation of social districts. The council is asked to enact a new ordinance and approve resolutions that will allow for a social district to be created in downtown Monroe. And this comes to council with recommendations of the Downtown Advisory Board. It's been to Strategic Session, Public Safety, and General Services Committee. Item 10, outside agency funding policy revisions. This is a revised outside agency policy that has been drafted to offer City Council guidance while considering and recommending funding requests for outside agencies. This would help improve the understanding of eligibility criteria, formal assessment process for the applicants, monitoring process to evaluate the success of a program, thereby improving the consistency, transparency, and accountability of the funding that's awarded. Item 11, resolution supporting North Carolina Department of Transportation US 74 and NC 200 improvements project. This is to recommend approval of Resolution 2022-06, supporting NCDOT's project to install dual left turn lanes on eastbound US 74 at NC 200 and to extend dual northbound lanes on NC 200 from US 74 to Sutherland Avenue. Item 12, staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grant program application. This is better known as the SAFER grant. Staff is seeking authorization to apply for a federal staffing and adequate fire and emergency response grant for 9 firefighters to staff future Fire Station 6. The salary and benefits cost impact for 9 firefighter positions for fiscal year 26 is projected to be approximately $734,000. That is the fiscal year in which we would take over the cost of those firefighters. Due to meeting schedules and the grant application deadline, Public Safety Committee Chair Gary Anderson approved this item to be placed on City Council's consent agenda. Those are all of the items I have on the consent agenda, Mayor. I'll turn it back over to you.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Question for you before, I'm sorry, my voice is gone. Can we pull number 11? I got a statement and a question about that one. Okay. Is Sarah here? Is Sarah?
I think, here, I'm sorry.
Sarah should be here. She
She's
may
out
be-
there.
There we go. Thank you, Sarah.
Mayor, we would suggest you go ahead and have, I believe there was a motion to approve, but I would suggest a motion to approve the approvable items except for number 11, and then you can go ahead and deal with number 11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve all items with the exception of number 11. If you would signify by raising your hand, please. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Hey, Sarah, I will speak as loud as I can. Glad to see these improvements being done. Is there any way that we can get North Carolina Department of Transportation to come in to do like a presentation to give us an update, like on the roads and stuff like that, so we have an idea like what's going on with the roads here?
I can request that from them, sure.
All right, thank you.
You'd like that at a council meeting?
I guess,
Strategic would be
yeah,
fine,
strategic.
probably. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
That does, thank you so much.
Okay, now, do we have a motion to,
So moved.
A second.
motion and a second for number 11? If you would signify by raising your hand. Okay, motion carries there. Thank you very much. And now we'll go into our regular agenda, and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here. If you are making a comment and you've signed up, I ask that when you proceed to the podium to state your name and address clearly for the clerk. Be concise, limit to your comments to 3 minutes or less. If you've got a large group, it might be better to appoint a spokesperson. But right now, I recognize Water Resources Engineer Manager Rich Reiser.
Big crowd, I was stuck out there.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, my name is Richard Reiser. I'm the Water Resources Engineering Manager. Russell Colbath, who's the Water Resources Director, is not able to be here tonight. Staff requests council to consider establishing a new ordinance for the approval of future developer agreements. Recent changes in North Carolina general statutes regarding development and developer agreements make it necessary to develop a city ordinance to use as a mechanism for approval and tracking these agreements. The General Assembly recognizes that development projects create community opportunities and impacts that often require long-term commitments of both public and private resources. Because of their scale and duration, such projects require careful coordination of public capital facilities, planning, financing, and construction schedules. The new statutes allow local governments to enter into development agreements to better manage and structure development approvals while coordinating public facilities. Newly adopted general statutes sections 160D-1001 through 160D-1012 authorize the city to enter into a developer agreement pursuant to procedures and requirements that include approval by City Council after a duly noticed public hearing. In consultation with the city's attorney's office and the North Carolina School of Government, it is recommended that all developer agreements be approved by city ordinance. Accordingly, attached is the recommended ordinance to create Title V, Chapter 59 developer agreements. This ordinance can be used by all city departments that may have the need for creating a developer agreement. Also attached is an ordinance to reapprove the 3 developer agreements that were previously approved by council in the December 13th council meeting. Staff recommends that council take actions on the first ordinance that is part of your packet, and then the second ordinance.
Actions needed. Do we have a motion to adopt the ordinance adding Chapter 59?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, if you would signify by raising your hand. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've got the second part also?
What was that, sir?
Don't we have a second part?
No.
No, sir.
No.
I think those were.
That will be covered by planning.
Okay, very good. Okay, next.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, actually, you did have one to adopt the ordinance adding Chapter 59, and then if you approve that, you have to have a second one, which is the motion to adopt the ordinance amending 59.04, now to deal with Project Millwood.
So
You
moved.
were correct, Mayor.
So moved.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item is the zoning map amendment request to rezone property located along East Roosevelt Boulevard. This was tabled from August 10th and October 12th of 2021 and rescheduled from February the 8th, 22 to January the 11th today with the advertising. So this is a public hearing. The deadline to submit the written comments was 5 p.m. January the 7th, 22. We received 2 written comments in opposition. So at this time, I'll recognize Senior Planner Carrie Mendler, who will present the item. Carrie?
Good evening. I'm Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Tonight I'll be presenting a zoning text and map amendment request. The applicant is requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop 84 single-family lots. And the total area of the project is 25.67 acres. The property is highlighted in blue. It is located south of East Roosevelt Boulevard and north of East Old Highway 74. The subject properties are currently zoned general business and are located along East Roosevelt Boulevard. The general business zoning district allows various commercial uses. Adjoining properties are also zoned a mixture of R20 residential, which is the gray to the west and south, and general business, which is the pink to the east, as well as general industrial, which is the purple to the north. The applicant is requesting the conditional district in order to develop 84 single-family lots. The total area of the project is 25.67 acres, with 7.9 acres, or 30.8% of that left as common open space. The density of this project is 3.27 units per acre. The minimum lot size proposed is 5,500 square feet, and the average lot size is 7,155 square feet. The proposed setbacks are 20 feet for the front, 10 feet for the rear, and 5 feet for the sides. The project is required to provide at least 12.5% open space, which would equal 3.2 acres. The total area of open space provided is 7.9 acres, or again 30.8% of the overall site. The open space will also include a gathering area with a picnic tables and a fire pit, a playground, and a walking path. Just to orient you to the site, the East Roosevelt Boulevard is up in the northern part of the site plan, with Old East Highway 74 down here to the south. The proposed amenity areas are here, which is the gathering area with the fire pit, the proposed playground, as well as the walking path here near the stormwater management in the south of the site. Street trees will be provided at a rate of 1 per 50 linear feet. All houses will have at least 2 front yard trees, and a 25-foot landscape buffer is also being provided along the perimeter of the site, as well as a 6-foot tall solid fence along lots 1 through 14. And again, just to orient you a little bit, the block that you see surrounding the site plan is the 25-foot landscape buffer. Again, that will have trees and shrubs as outlined in this diagram. And then there will also be a 6-foot tall fence located along the back of lots 1 through 14. A 5-foot wide sidewalk will be provided along both sides of the interior streets throughout the development. A 10-foot wide multi-use path will be provided along the exterior of the project along US Highway 74 or Roosevelt Boulevard. The applicant will also be required to provide stormwater management to treat the stormwater runoff for the project. The stormwater will be evaluated and reviewed if the project is approved by City Council at the building permit stage of the process. The development is proposed to be accessed by 2 entrances. One entrance will be a right-in, right-out only off of East Highway 74, East Roosevelt Boulevard to the north here. And then there will be one full access entrance proposed on East Old Highway 74. This entrance off of East Old Highway 74 is accessed through the adjacent parcel. This entrance is not required, therefore it is possible that this entrance would not be constructed and the proposed development street would end in a cul-de-sac or other turnaround approved by the city's engineering department. Please note that part of this rezoning does include this portion of the property for the access point. So it's there if they need it. As far as getting access from the existing property owner, they are working through that, but it is not required due to the number of lots. So it's possible that the development would just end in a cul-de-sac here at the property line, or something similar as approved by the engineering department. Again, it's not required because they do have less than 100 lots. The developer is proposing 75% of the homes will be 1,900 heated square feet, with the remaining 25% of the homes at least 1,700 heated square feet. The proposed exterior building materials will include fiber cement, stone, stucco, and/or brick. A minimum of 25% of the front cladding will be either stone, stucco, or brick. Vinyl will only be utilized for trim work. Houses will be built on slab foundations. Will also have the 4-course brick along the slab. Each home will have a minimum of a 2-car attached garage. All front-load garages will have the carriage-style trim or hardware that mimics the carriage-style garage doors. And driveways will be able to accommodate at least 4 vehicles. This development falls within the following school districts: Rockrest Elementary, East Union Middle, and Forest Hills High. According to Don Ogrum with the school system, the proposed development is not expected to adversely affect the school enrollment versus capacity. The applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting on June 3rd, 2021 at the Community Church of Monroe, which is adjacent to this site. The meeting also had a virtual attendance option through Zoom. Approximately 15 individuals attended this meeting. Rezoning notification signs were also posted on the property, and 32 official rezoning notification letters were mailed to adjacent property owners, again located within 150 feet, 10 days prior to the public hearing. The land development plan indicates this area is suburban. While residential uses typically take the form of neighborhoods with uniform housing types and densities, a mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred in suburban locations. The density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. The proposed project is consistent with the future land use plan. Planning staff recommended approval of the project, while Planning Board did recommend denial of the rezoning with a 5-2 vote. The following changes have been made since the Planning Board meeting. The applicant increased the heated floor size from 1,600 square feet to 1,700 square feet for 25% of the project and 1,900 square feet for 75% of the project. The applicant also added a solid opaque fence along lots 1 through 14 to add additional screening. They also increased the street tree and yard tree sizes from 1.5 inches in caliber at planting to 3 inches in caliber at planting. And they also added a fire pit in the proposed gathering area near lot 69 and 84. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant is here as well.
Gary, I have a question. The buffering between the Knollwood subdivision and this proposed subdivision, you said was 25 feet?
Yes, and then the fence as well along the lots that abut that neighborhood.
What was the planning board's main objection?
Planning board, they had concerns with the density, the overall density. I will say, I mean, it's more dense than majority of the projects that we've seen recently, but it is within the 2 to 4 allowed by the future land use plan.
How many houses per acre?
They're at 3.27.
That's not The footprint, that's the whole taking in extra land, is that right?
That's for the whole site, including their open space.
Okay.
Carrie, question, so, you said it was a 5-2 vote with planning denying,
Yes, recommending denial. Mhm.
but you stated that they went back and made changes per the request made by planning board?
They didn't reduce the number of lots, but they did increase the house sizes, and that was another concern that we hear from planning board often is the house size as well. So they did increase the house size as well. So the 1,700 square feet for 25%, and then 1,900 square feet for 75% of the project. So majority will be close to the 2,000 square foot range roughly.
I guess this is for council, because it's like, once these projects go through the planning, board, they make the recommendation, make changes. We don't know if planning would approve those projects if they went back with those revisions. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to talk about. So she stated that they denied the project. But
Planning
they went-
board.
Yes, correct. And so they went back and made revisions. So we don't know if they would have approved the project with the revisions that was made. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know how we can deal with this problem because it continues to be an issue. And then it comes before us to make a decision because they already made these changes. So that's why council votes different from the planning board, because they done came and we hear those complaints from the citizens talking about that. So that's something that we gotta do different to make this process work better.
Yes.
Since there's nothing organic about this plan, I'm assuming this has to be clear-cut, leveled, and filled to accomplish this type of use.
I would have to defer to the engineer that's working on that project to answer that question. I don't know exactly the grading that would be required for the project. They don't have any undisturbed area showing, so that would be my understanding, but I would defer to the engineer working on the project, who is here tonight, I believe. Okay.
Is the engineer here?
Yeah.
I have a presentation too for Greenway.
Okay.
I would like to see.
Any other questions?
Yes,
Carrie?
yes, I'm sorry, Matt. Having difficulty here.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff and community that's come out tonight. I'll go through the presentation pretty quick. Carrie does a great job on our presentations. And then before I forget, I answer your question on the clear cutting of the trees on it. With this and on this one, everything naturally, you know what, I'm going to skip a little bit ahead to the site plan. Everything naturally drains to these two locations. So the least amount of earth moving and clearing as possible is what we try to do, especially around the perimeter. This is 25-foot buffer, but the city allows that if we can leave it natural and meet the minimum requirements of that buffer, that we won't actually have to plant it. So anything along the perimeter and in our open spaces that we can leave, we will leave. And then the city has requirements for certain caliber of trees, that those are to be worked around. So unless it's in a spot where we can't move it because of some reason, those bigger trees will have to stay on site as well. So it's as much working with the existing topo and the environment out there as possible is where we'll be. And so the ponds will always be in the low spot so that we can kind of do that at an easier point. Nothing really crazy on this site that would produce anything heavy to do. Beginning part, again, just kind of over the sites, Monroe Golf Course. I'm going to call this new 74 and old 74 on the side. We're right in the middle of it. Right across from us is the nursery that was approved last month. This is currently GB zoning on here. Same thing on the little piece here. This is one of here is the piece of the church property that they agreed to allow us to include on this one for that drive on old 74 with R20 around us. So what this is doing is providing the area a nice buffer between that commercial to your R20 that you have over on the side. Other than that, like commercial building here right now next to residential will kind of summarize it and take it from a more dense to least dense as you kind of move away from it. And everything on the north side of 74 is all commercial. Can I zoom in on this maybe? Here we go. Just kind of give you an overall picture of the site plan. These blue areas here are stormwater ponds. This is where we'll catch and detain all of stormwater off site. We'll clean it and then slowly release it as if nothing was ever developed on the site. This is where the kids' park is with the gazebo and playing area on the side here. This is the second gathering area with benches and the fire pit area that we added. This will kind of give you a little better picture of where the buffer is that runs along the entire perimeter, as well as I said, the fence on this side neighboring these our properties. That was a request from one of the neighbors that bought us to have a little bit more of a permanent screening on that one, so that will be 100% fenced along that side. Per DOT, they did request that we put a right turn lane in, so coming off of 74, we will have a right turn lane into the sites as well. But you can even see in here in between the houses, there's many areas that we can leave trees and make it natural, especially on the trail here in the back. We'll leave it as natural as possible. This kind of gives you a picture of the proposed park area. Again, nice covered area with a picnic table, benches, nice high-end playground. That piece of it. Nice monument signs on the front to that area of what we're looking at. I do have some elevations that I'm going to show. Mr. Chad Lloyd from MI is here to speak on the elevations and kind of talk through their product line. And so I'm going to turn it over to him now to talk about it, but then I'll be around for any questions you guys have on the side as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council and members of the public. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you and for you to consider this project. My name is, again, Chad Lloyd with MI Homes. I live just up the road, 3242 Tatting Road up in Matthews. MI Homes has a very, very strong track record in Monroe. If especially some of the new folks on council, I'd invite you out to see some of the communities that we're currently building and selling in. We've got a great track record. In this project, we plan to offer a mix of homes. I had to advance the slide here. There we go. There we go. A mix of homes. It would be, some of the homes would be a ranch style with the owner suite on the main level, as well as some traditional two-story that you see here to appeal to a wide variety of customers and preferences out there. You have those, Carrie presented the elevations earlier as to how we propose to do it with the 25% brick, stone, or stucco on the facades of the houses. The houses range from 3 to 5 bedrooms, depending on how they're optioned up, 2 to 2.5 bathrooms, and the size range with the stipulations of minimum sizes range from above 1,700 feet to above 2,600 square feet in there. In terms of pricing, where we anticipate it, of course, the market is very fluid right now. We anticipate this would be somewhere in approaching the mid-3s. It's likely to appreciate over time, especially as costs continue to increase. That's the houses. We're happy to answer any questions. I would reiterate what Matt had mentioned and what Carrie pointed out, that this is the site is currently general business, and your UDO currently defines that as, quote, designed to accommodate the widest range of commercial activities. As it's currently zoned right now, taking it to a residential use is a down zoning. It could be very intense with commercial uses out there. And as Matt pointed out, it can provide a buffer between some of those more intense uses that are to the east and the R20 to the west. So happy to answer any questions. Great to be in front of you again. We hope to continue our investments in Monroe, and happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Fred.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Ezra, you know, we hear here all the time from new developments that abut existing developments. And those people are sorely disappointed when their areas adjacent to them and up to their property line is clear-cutted. I don't have much faith in a fence, one. It might look good upon being installed, but nobody ever maintains them. And I can take you around and show you numerous developments that we have here, commercial and residential, where those things don't last very long. So now my question to you is, do you have any flexibility at all about the buffering between your subdivision you're proposing and the existing one? And two, would you be opposed to leaving those undisturbed? I'm a little concerned about Matt's statement of as natural as possible. Now, we all know when you get out there and start grading, you're making that decision and we won't be there. So I'm fuzzy on as natural as possible. The two things that I'm not crazy about, and I've expressed this before, of course, is the size of the lots and the number of lots. So do you have any flexibility in that at all?
Again, when we're guided by the land use plan that's been adopted by the town. It's
right.
2 to 4 units
Yeah.
per acre. So that's where we come into it. That's how the property is priced. In order for us to deliver a neighborhood that makes economic sense, there has to be a certain number of yield. It's very consistent with what this council has adopted with other communities that we have, in fact, ourselves are currently developing and currently selling in. So we're not asking for anything out of the ordinary from what we have done in the past. I'll let Matt speak specific to the buffers and the plantings.
If it is a request, we can make that perimeter buffer a natural buffer. Just know that, or an undisturbed buffer. Just with that, if any part of it isn't meeting the minimum requirements of the buffer that the city has laid out, those are where your options are. So if you want an undisturbed buffer, not a problem at all. We won't grade in that at all. It has backyards to it, so we have plenty of possibilities not to touch that at all. Just if any of it's thinner on there, that's where you might, either way that you want it, we can make it work. Whether you want it planted or undisturbed, that is definitely not a problem at all.
And the wall would be maintained by the HOA, correct? By the HOA.
Mr. Lord, tell me, what does an opaque wall consist of?
It's pretty much a vinyl fence. You think a 6-foot vinyl fence that you would see on the upper scale of stuff. So not a wooden fence that will degrade, but a vinyl fence that would almost be self-maintaining on that side. It will have to be cleaned and power washed though.
Question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You had other homes here on the project, other projects in Monroe?
I'm sorry?
You said you had other projects.
Yes, ma'am.
What were they located?
Yeah, we're currently building in Stallings Brook. We're currently building and selling in Stallings Brook. We're building in Poplar Grove. We're selling at Kellerton Place, and we currently have Seacrest Landing under development. So a lot of experience out this way. Very good reception from customers. We're doing really well with those customers, and it's encouraged us to continue wanting to invest in Monroe.
I've got a question about the
Yes, sir.
square footage. Earlier it was mentioned, I think, by Kerry that it was 25% would be 1,700 and maybe 75% over 1,900. You were quoting 2,600.
That's the range. That's the plans that we would offer. They range from that size. So she's talking about the minimum sizes, but the plans that we currently have, they range. So we're trying
there's no
to meet a
percentage that are going to be, say, over 20.
It depends on the market, but we want to offer as many different types of plan to appeal to different life stages, different lifestyles as we can. And we've done very well with similar strategies in the communities in this area and around the area. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the two gentlemen? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I got a question for Kerry.
I'm sorry. We did.
I'm not sure if you noticed the answers to the questions, but I noticed it's closer like to the eastern side, got the Forest Hills, the rest schools down there. Have there been any other projects? What was the latest project you built on that side?
The newest project I can think of down that way would be the Cottage Green, which is just further up on 601, and I think they're still building houses. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head in that area. Yeah, Lisa's concurring that sounds accurate as well.
This is a public hearing, and I've got some people signed up for.
You got one other councilman, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, let the public speak quick.
Sure.
Okay, let us answer your question one more time, Freddie. We will leave it natural, but we can increase that buffer. So what we'll probably do is drop 3 of the middle units here in the middle and increase that from a 25-foot buffer to a 50-foot buffer on that side. And then we'll let you decide whether you want it undisturbed or planted, or you want the outside 25 feet undisturbed and maybe the inside 25 planted. Either way that you want, or the way you want staff to guide us into it. But we'll drop a row of houses in the middle and so that we get that 50-foot buffer around the outside.
What I do hear from a lot of citizens that are in this same situation, and I really think they would prefer undisturbed.
We'll do the whole 50-foot undisturbed. That is not a problem. That is agreeable. One more thing before they have, but just want to make sure I got that over to you.
Well, let me ask you this. This is the next question, of course, is that going to affect the density of this? And
yeah, so we're going to drop units down the middle of it to expand that.
Okay.
We'll have to loosen it.
We're minimum 3, possibly 4 more jobs. So you're going to be 80, 81 units.
And I know that, we do have a UDO. We hadn't voted on it yet, but, all of our city is changing.
Yes, sir.
And I know that we have some higher densities allowed in this as we go forward. But I don't mind telling you, what we hear the most up here as representatives of the citizens is density. And typically, when you're trying to reach that maximum 4, we all start to get a little shaky, frankly. And when I see 5,000 square foot lots in there, and that's a small lot. I mean, even for people that don't like yard work, once you put a house on it and the setbacks on the sides and front and back, you've not got much left. And so that's all I'm saying. It may influence how we vote. I'm just asking.
Yes, sir. The reality for us is in situations where you have adequate infrastructure there, certainly there's land costs and there's fixed development costs to put a project like this on the ground. When you reduce that count in an area with the costs that are involved, the fixed costs, you have obviously less houses to spread those costs across, and you push the housing to a level that's less and less attainable to the median income that can support these houses. So there's a balance, and we do market analyses to understand, what the market is, how many folk we want to appeal to the widest part of the market as we can. That's a challenge that we're all seeing, especially in a climate of, very, very sharp increases in land development costs and the vertical construction costs right now to deliver a house that people can afford to be in. And these are not inexpensive houses. These are going to be very, very nice houses with warranties and very, very nice homes. It is a challenge that we all wrestle with. Some of the houses that, if you do really big lot deals with similar type of setups and similar type of costs, you're pushing into many hundreds of thousands of dollars more in many cases, which has an impact on when you start getting into 100-foot wide lots. You're talking houses that...
Well, I wasn't suggesting that, not for this.
Right.
But let me just tell you, I don't see a thing wrong with this piece of property being residential.
Right.
That's not a question. And it's ultimately going to get down to a vote, and if 4 people vote for it, good luck, have a good day.
Question.
Yes, sir.
How much width between the homes? How much?
5 feet on each
So
side.
at a minimum, so it's 10 feet at a minimum if you went from side to side on the building project. Most time, you got a 52-foot wide lot, you're looking at either a 30 or 40-foot product. So we won't even push those prior all the way to the ends. If most of them, majority you see, are you using more 40-foot product or 30-foot product on them?
Here, this would be a 40-foot product.
Yeah, so you're probably pushing the sides to 10 feet between houses on that
The
side.
smallest lot is 50.
The smallest lot is 52 feet.
What's your
So a little
largest?
bit wider.
Yeah, a little bit wider, so a little bit wider, and that's like 12 feet.
What's your largest?
Yeah. And that's the ones we pushed over on the side to try to already add that extra space between the neighboring properties so that the depth on them, the widths didn't change, some of the depths we reduced to try to give it even more space on that side.
Who are you targeting for these homes?
I'm sorry?
What's your target market for these homes?
We can't really, with fair housing laws, we can't really target any, with federal fair housing laws, we can't say that we're specifically targeting a market. We know what the market is. From a comparative sales standpoint, we think we're right in line with where that market would be, but we can't target any particular segment. But we do have the housing with the master suite on the main level and traditional two-story houses. We're trying to appeal to as many people that are out this way as we can, and have been very successful here in Monroe doing that. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from council? Okay, this is a public hearing, and we've had several people sign up, including Mr. Ward and Mr. Kirshner, speak in favor. The next person to speak in favor has a writing style very similar to mine, and I am not sure who this could be. Is it something junior, maybe? Who signed up to speak in favor of the Willoughby Park, other than Mr. Lloyd and Mr. Kirshner?
Could be in the other room, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't read it either. It's, three names.
Guys.
Got nothing for you.
We'll give them just a second then. If not, we'll go ahead and go with those. And Mr. McCain, are you Mr. McCain?
I am. Good evening.
Did you sign up for or against? You didn't indicate.
For against.
Okay. If you would like to approach the lectern, you have 3 minutes to visit with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everyone's time. A lot of times you just have to anchor the things that you feel and your perspective on things. I retired in 2017 from a Fortune 50 company that operated in 130 countries around the world. As an operations consultant, business director, operations director, you learn to have a good perspective on a number of things. From just a purely business standpoint, unmet demand. There is less than 6 miles of development that will have homes for $900,000. In our neighborhood, we have Willoughby Farms, multi-million-dollar homes, Western Estates. We could go with a proposal like what we're looking at today, but I think we could probably do a lot better, and that's why I'm here. There's no question in Gaston County who sets the pace is Gastonia. You better believe Greensboro sets the pace. I'm real concerned. Born and raised here in Monroe, and when you look at our county, we're the county seat. If you look at what the other municipalities are able to do, it doesn't reflect that. If we could talk to this developer, because they've moved a long way from what their initial proposal was, but quite honestly, I believe that they're in a position they could probably do a lot better. And by a lot better, I mean the $500,000 homes, why couldn't they be 900? Unmet demand says that we have to believe that the last homeowner doesn't look 6 miles from Monroe to buy that home. If we don't do it now, given the logistics and the development, there's plenty of land down 84. And at some point in time, there's going to be more of it available. But if we don't put our mark and define that demarcation with these developments here and now, when, where, and how, are they willing and able to do more? I spent my entire afternoon riding up and down Highway 84, looking in developments. And I see what is out there. I've spent time driving through Weddington. I see what is there. Waxhaw has one stoplight, for the most part. And I've seen what they've been able to attract with Ladera and other developments down there. Just, we have to make ourselves more attractive. That's the key. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCain. Erica Jenkins.
Yeah. I did the against, right?
I'm sorry?
I signed up for against?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I'm going to take my mask off. Is that okay?
You can pronounce.
Is that okay?
Go either way if you want to.
Okay, because I want everybody to be able to hear me. Okay, my name is Erica Jenkins. I'm at 2510 Julian Street, which is directly behind this development. First off, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me speak. And I'm not against progress, but this is the type of progress that the city does not need. I think what we've got is a situation where I like to think of it as like, we've got a group of friends, okay? Our neighborhood. We're already in there, we're going, and then a new guy comes in, and we're all really excited, and it looks great, and then like we're chatting and stuff, and then they tell a joke that they think is funny, and it offends everybody in the room. They did not read the room. They did not understand the vibe of that group. And I have to bring up a question. Why is the city continuing to approve the same idea, the same plans over and over and over again? Like this community, I swear on my life, I saw it down the street. The same type of houses. I've only lived in Monroe and in North Carolina for 9 months. I love this place already. It's special. There's character, there's charm, community. Everyone is so polite and nice. And when I look outside, I see, and through my backyard, I see trees. I hear the wind through the trees. I used to live in a desert for 34 years. So, I mean, I have a bit of a perspective here. I'm used to brown dirt and cactus, but here it's something unbelievably special and beautiful. And I hate to see developers come in. I know they said that they're not going to plow everything. They seem to be scrambling to change so that it can be passed. But there needs to be some accountability and creativity for these builders, especially all of the builders that are in here tonight and the engineers for all of these agendas. Like, they're coming into our city. What makes what they're bringing special? What are they bringing that's adding value to the city? I understand it's bringing people in. Like, I get that. But at what cost? Okay? And I mean, I agree, these type of developments do work, but not in this area. They talk about having it being a buffer. A buffer for what? Adding more cars, more people? These roads can't handle it. They literally can't. Have you driven up old highway recently? It's an absolute disaster. If we really want them to build here, and I'm okay with having houses behind me rather than a commercial building. I'm totally okay with that. Like, I would rather have a resident. But we need to hold them more responsible and actually have them present something special like this city of Monroe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Okay, those are all the public comments.
I'd like to make a comment.
Obviously, I didn't sign up for this project, but after hearing what the developers say, I don't like the concept of, as I call it, throwing pasta against the wall. You know, we'll throw a noodle against the wall. If it doesn't stick, we'll cook it a little more. We'll try again and see if it sticks. I'm 100% with Mr. Gordon. Anything they set up here really does nothing to do with what planning board's concerns were. You know, they're just trying to sweeten the pot to get approval, but the planning board's concerns, 5-2, or density, which that doesn't affect density. And actually, if they're changing the density, which they spoke to, according to UDO, it should go back to planning because that's a significant change. Yes, sir, it is a significant change for, well, that's your opinion as an attorney, but I would say any change in density should go back to planning board and let them run it through the chain. I've mentioned this before, that one of the concerns was if we run it back through planning, is it would delay the developer by a month or two. I think these people have to live with this development for the rest of their life, so another month or two for a developer really isn't a big deal. So I think you either need to table it or deny it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Okay, anyone else to speak for or against? At this time, we'll entertain a motion for action.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir, James.
I oppose losing any property that's currently zoned general business to residential, first and foremost. If this project were in another location, I would still be in opposition to it because, as I said initially, there is nothing organic about it. It is clear cutting. It's eradicating the natural topography. You can't create a geometric plan like that in nature. It just doesn't work. I don't have a problem smaller lots or even, you know, small houses like they're planning, but it needs to have a little more interest, a little more architectural detail, a little more longevity, not just something that will be saleable maybe for the next decade. I don't think we should lose any property that's zoned general business. It's too valuable. The tax base long term for the city is far more rewarding, and I think we should vote in opposition to this plan in its entirety.
Are you making a motion?
I'm making a motion to deny.
Actually, you have to go through a few things instead of just denying it. You would need to deal first with a resolution on land development plan compliance, and then if you're getting towards, and then to be consistent with what you're doing, you're asking to move to adopt a resolution denying land development plan compliance, and then you would continue on. But there's not just one motion that denies everything because of the actions you're required to take under state law.
One second.
This would be at item B on your motion agenda.
This one here.
It's that second.
I make the motion to deny the land development plan.
I think your motion would be you would move to adopt the resolution denying land development plan compliance. I think that's what you actually meant.
That's what I mean.
Okay. We have a motion to,
I'll second that motion.
okay, and the motion is seconded. All right, we'll have a motion and a second. Those in favor of denying it, if you would signify by raising your hand, please.
And then further, make a motion to deny the zoning map amendment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to deny the zoning map amendment. Those in favor of denying the zoning map amendment, signify by raising your hand. Okay. That fails then. Thank you very much. Next is item 15, which is zoning map amendment request to rezone property located along Fowler Secrest Road, known as Conditional District Blair Place. And we'll have Carrie Miller again. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, excuse me. We did receive 2 letters in opposition, a letter containing 3 signatures in support, and 1 petition that had 56 signatures in opposition.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Tonight I'll be presenting a zoning text and map amendment request. The applicant is requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop an age-restricted 100-lot subdivision. So to orient you to the site, the property is highlighted in blue. It is located east of Fowler Seacrest Road. The subject property is currently zoned R40, which is single-family residential. The R40 zoning district allows for residential single-family and has a minimum lot size of 40,000 square feet. Property to the north is also zoned R40, which is the tan brown color. Property to the east is zoned conditional district Hilton Meadows, which is the red burgundy color. Property to the south is zoned conditional district Fox Hunt Phase 5, as well as R40. And property to the west is zoned R20, which is the gray. The applicant is requesting the conditional district in order to develop an age-restricted 100-lot subdivision. The total area of the project is 51.8 acres, with 21.3 acres or 41.112% of that left as common open space. The density of the project is 1.93 units per acre. The minimum lot size is 9,100 square feet, with 12,046 square feet as the average lot size. The proposed setbacks are 25 feet for the front, 10 feet for the rear, and 5 feet for the sides. As I mentioned, the applicant is proposing this project to be an age-restricted development. This means the development must meet the Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, definition of an age-restricted or housing for older persons definition. The applicant has provided the following notes regarding this requirement. The developer agrees that the lots in Blair Place will be age-restricted per the HUD definition, which includes and permits that at least 80% of the units be occupied by at least one permanent occupant who is at least 55 years or older. The remaining 20% may be unrestricted due to death, legal separation, or removal by reason of incapacitation, where the spouse and remaining members of the household may continue to occupy the home. The developer also agrees to provide a copy of the restrictive covenants for the development prior to the lots being recorded, indicating the age-restricted requirement is in the documents. And lastly, the subdivision HOA will also provide a census in July of each year showing the age of all residents residing in the development per lot. The project is required to provide at least 12.5% open space, which would be 6.47 acres. As I mentioned, the total area of open space provided is 21.3 acres, which is 41.12%. The open space will also include a natural walking path and gazebo with benches. The main amenity that I just mentioned is located here towards the entrance of the site. Street trees will be provided at a rate of 1 per 50 linear feet, and each lot will also have at least 2 front yard trees. Additionally, a 25-foot landscape buffer is also being provided along the perimeter of the site, which is the darker block that you see surrounding the site. A 5-foot wide sidewalk will be provided along both sides of the interior roads throughout the development. Additionally, an 8-foot wide sidewalk will be provided along the frontage of Fowler Seacrest Road. The applicant will be required to provide stormwater management to treat the stormwater runoff for the project. The stormwater will be evaluated and reviewed if the project is approved by City Council at the building permit stage of the process. The development is proposed to be accessed by one entrance off of Fowler Seacrest Road. The entrance lines up with the Woodridge Senior Living Community, and a traffic impact analysis was not required by the City Engineering Department. The developers proposing the homes will be a minimum of 1,400 heated square feet. Primary building materials on all sides will consist of stone or brick, and secondary materials may consist of fiber cement materials. Vinyl will not be permitted as a building material, and brick veneer will be used on all of the foundations as well. Each home will have a minimum of a 2-car attached garage. All front-load garages will have carriage-style trim and/or hardware, and driveways will be able to accommodate at least 2 vehicles. The development falls within the Porter Ridge Elementary, Piedmont Middle, and Piedmont High School districts. According to Don Ogrum with the school system, the proposed development is not expected to adversely affect school enrollment versus capacity. The applicant held 3 neighborhood meetings on April 21st, 2021, June 22nd of 2021, and September 8th, 2021. The meetings were a combination of virtual and in-person. 2 rezoning notification signs were also posted 10 days prior to the public hearing, and 113 official rezoning notification letters were sent to the adjacent property owners located within at least 150 feet, again 10 days prior to the public hearing. The following change has been made since Planning Board and was also mentioned at Planning Board as a change. The applicant will design the stormwater ponds to provide stormwater quantity measures to the 25-year storm event, which is above and beyond the city requirement. The land development plan indicates this area is suburban. Residential uses typically take the form of neighborhoods with uniform housing types and densities. A mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred in these locations. Multimodal connectivity between neighborhoods and nearby centers should also be emphasized. The density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. The proposed project is not consistent with the future land use plan because, as I stated, the density for the suburban character area is 2 to 4 units per acre, and this project is at 1.93 units per acre. However, staff did believe that the project was reasonable use. Planning Board did recommend denial of the project, while staff did recommend approval of the project. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Can you clarify who maintains Fowler Secrest Road?
I'm sorry?
Can you clarify who maintains Fowler Secrest Road?
That's a city-maintained road.
Has the sharp curve there on Fowler Secrest Road been addressed at all?
Not with this project, and I don't know if there's any plans, for that sharp curve. I believe the engineering director is here. She might be able to weigh in on that, but there's nothing addressed as far as this project.
Any further questions for Ms. Midler? Excuse me. Okay, this is a public hearing, and I'll call to the lectern individuals who have signed up to speak in favor. Mr. Kirshner?
Hello again. Hopefully this project's a little bit more of what you're looking for. Matthew Kirshner with Eagle Engineering. This is Kyle with the development seat with BRD. We also have Jerry with Madame here as well. That will be the builder that will kind of discuss that side of it. This is Blair Place, right there on Fowler Secrest as you come around the open property we have on that side. You can kind of see this. Give you a little more visit, like you're saying, fox hunts down here on the south side. We got Creekwood Community, Woodridge Senior Living, and then the village of Woodridge right here. These are like duplex houses. This is actually a senior care facility, and these two are three are your normal subdivisions on the other 3 sides. Fowler Secrest. The curve up here on the side, this is a City Monroe Road on that side just past us, but what we did do is reduce the lot counts down so that you would only have to have 1 driveway. We did align that driveway with access to the Woodridge Senior Living across the way. which would give us the best view around the side, but we'll still have to meet all sight distance and sight triangles along that side for that entrance. With this as well, nice big opening area here in the middle for the amenity area. You'll see the trails, open spaces, as well as the gathering area that has a fireplace and benches that I'll mention later on. In case this is brought up, obviously you see a ton of open space around the borders of the property. I think on this side over here we have 150, 200 feet to a ton past that. That could all be undisturbed. We don't have to touch any part of that. We're keeping it as more of a cluster development towards the middle of it. So we can disturb the middle of it and leave most of the outside area undisturbed, especially down towards the fox hunt side. We got hundreds of feet of that we can put undisturbed buffer on that side. Zoom in, kind of gives you a look of the way the entrance is. Again, off to the right, you can see we're leaving all the trees down here in the back side of it. It's there. Nice gathering area in the middle. One of the key features that they're saying, it is a 55 and older restricted living facility with all brick or stone houses, so there won't be any mix of materials on the facade like we normally do. That's 25% mix. These are brick or stone or stucco houses, no vinyl or hardy plank. This gives you an example of the fireplace area and gathering spot that we have in the middle with the trails around it. We will try to leave as many trees in that area to kind of bring through when we have the trails. These are sidewalk trails, but we can do natural trails only because it is age restricted. The sidewalks might work better in that area. So currently we are proposing sidewalks in that community gathering spot. Nice picture of our monument sign. You can see the front buffer, and I have that behind it, as well as the full brick houses along that side. Again, just trying to do the upscale. If you ever drive on Fowler Seacrest, you can see the subdivision down there that has that nice landscape buffer. That buffer's that one. This is, if you're thinking of that, this is what this is. So that when you're driving around, you have a nice landscape buffer that kind of shields you from the houses right off the road. Even with that, we're pushed in a good bit so that you won't see it. It kind of allows it to be natural on it more than what you see now. That's the scrub that's growing over there. We do have a sidewalk along Fowler Seacrest. At least if you're talking about the safety, there is a gentleman that walks that road every day. If you're ever on, you'll see him walking it sooner or later. At least doing our part to try to extend that sidewalk for him, give him a safe space to walk. So we will have a sidewalk that goes along our entire frontage. Some elevations. Carrie showed you more than what I have here. You see brick or stone, a nice mix. This is the option for the garage on the front. Everything's going to be one-story ranch style. If there is a room up top, it'll be like a bonus room. You might have a bathroom, but no two-story houses in this one. So the berm and stuff and like neighboring houses where you see the taller houses, this will all be one-story buildings on this property. And then some of the key features that you have, and I know the big stuff that you have with traffic in schools, this, as age restricted, has zero impact on local schools. There are not going to be any kids to go to schools. Traffic, and I'm going to actually show a chart below it. This is actually less impact on traffic than a by right product. So at 50 homes by right, this subdivision, age restricted, actually has less impact on the roads than that one. The stormwater ponds, over and beyond on that one. City requires 15-year detention and quality. We're doing 25-year detention and quality. Open space, I think the city requires 12.5 or 15%. We're doing 41%, 21 acres of open space. And again, a lot of that we can leave natural, especially on the fox hunt side. Kind of working through it. The way that the restricted age 50 and over is, it is governed by the covenants, and with that, it came up with staff's asking us, we send a report once a year, or the HOA will send a report to the City of Monroe once a year to make sure that we're following those rules on there. Reduce traffic, high quality construction, again, masonry stone on all the exteriors, gazebo, fireplace, benches, and then stormwater pond. This is the trip count the traffic engineer did. You can see that the senior detached homes at a total of 44 versus the 50 homes at a normal traditional one at 52. So this is a reduction in traffic as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle so that he can wrap up our our presentation.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, council. Appreciate you having me here tonight very much. Thank you for the opportunity to present our project. So I just want to slide back up to the site plan. So I just I wanted to just add a little bit of color to some of the things that Matt made, you know, as his comments, his general comments and presentation. So as part of this project, when we first started, we were actually at 134 lots. We had anticipated doing a market style of project. We were going to do an R10 zoning, 10,000 square foot lots. And over several meetings with the neighbors and the adjacent residents, what we realized is the traffic was a major concern and the stormwater was a major concern. So we said, okay, well, what can we do to address the major concerns that we're hearing about? So number one, 134 lots, we had an access point into Fox Hunt Estates. We realized right away from the very first meeting that was a non-starter. So how do we get rid of that? Well, ingress and egress, anything more than 100, we have to have a secondary means. So we immediately reduced our lot count. We went to 122, then 119, ultimately settled at 100, which is a 25% reduction. That's not a small number when you're talking about density, and obviously we're running a business. That's a substantial amount of units that have been removed. Next, we added a right in and right out that was actually close to that curve that everyone has mentioned, everyone knows about. They mentioned it many times during the process that it was an issue that people had real concerns about with kids and safety and everything else. That was actually recommended by our traffic engineer and supported by DOT. But we still decided that's probably something that we should remove just because the temperature doesn't feel good for this. People don't like it. They don't want it there. It doesn't make sense. So what we did was we left one main access point across from the Woodridge Senior Living Facility. We decided that an age-restricted community made a ton of sense here, being right across the street from an age-in-place facility right across the street. Being age-restricted and not age-targeted, as you guys know, there's a substantial difference there. 80+% of the residents will be required to be 55 and older in this community. And all that's really designed to do is to protect your spouse. If your spouse is 49 and you're 56 and you die, they can't kick your spouse out. They can't say, no, you can't live here anymore. So there's not going to be any long-term stays with family. There's not going to be any children that are going to be here. So we talked about, you know, there shouldn't be any school impacts. There will be no school impacts whatsoever. Absolutely no school impacts. As Matt alluded to on traffic, age-restricted communities, not only do they generate significantly less traffic, generally speaking, they also generate significantly less traffic during peak traffic hours. That's 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning when people are going to work, taking their children to school and whatnot, and that's 4 to 6 p.m. in the evening. They are looking at less than half of that time that a market rate by right community would generate. 50 homes, half the homes would generate more during those times than an age-restricted community. So I wanted to point that out. The peak time that an age-restricted community is expected to have their traffic is actually between 11:45 a.m. and 12:45 p.m. So I just wanted to point that out as something, kind of a point of emphasis that we wanted to raise and make sure. Some of the additional things that we heard about, you know, the quality of the homes. We got rid of the first builder that we had on this project. It was raised several times that people didn't like the homes. They read about the builder. They didn't like the builder. So we said, okay, who in our customer base that we really like working with really makes sense for an age-restricted community? And Mattamy stepped up to the plate and said, look, we'll come in. We're really looking to do a really high-quality community here. These are going to be 2- and 3-car garages. They're going to be all brick on the exteriors with the exception of the gables. I understand that some people see these as smaller lots, but these are still 70-foot wide lots with 45-foot homes on them. That's 25 feet between these homes. As you guys have seen over and over again, there's not many communities being presented in this day and age with 25 feet between them, 70-foot wide lots, all brick homes, 2- and 3-car garages. And at the end of the day, I look at it and I see that it's about the market of the people that want to buy, the active adult buyer that wants to have a drop-and-go lifestyle with a smaller lot with less maintenance to consider, with less maintenance to take care of, a smaller home. And I've built active adult communities, I've built independent living facilities, and I've built senior living facilities, all of them age-restricted or age-targeted, and I've seen how these things play out. So I wanted to add that color when it comes to the active adult communities. Some of the other things we did, again, as Matt alluded to, the common space buffers that we've added, in addition to the required 25 feet, we added over 100 feet in some areas. You can see up to 200 feet in some areas. That was another concern that people raised. And I wanted to make sure that people understood, we did hear you throughout this process, and we did try to make something that was consistent with what, you know, would be amenable and palatable for all parties. We understand that nothing is ever going to be perfect, but we did try to hear the residents, we did try to hear the concerns that they raised, and we did make substantial changes to this project in order to try to do that. So one of the other things, and I'm open for any questions that you guys have or anything else, I also wanted to call up Anna Duvall, who's actually the property owner. I don't think her voice has been heard. Her siblings are also owners of this property. They've owned all the property around this area. Everywhere, every single person lives around this area. Her family sold. And I want to call her up here for just a second because I don't think that the seller has been heard once throughout this process, and they're the person that's actually impacted the most. So, Anna, if you could come up.
Thank you. Good evening. You would know that my mask would get caught on my earrings, so please excuse me. And I was one that signed up to speak before. May I do that now, or would you like to ask questions first? What would be the best way to proceed?
Go ahead and.
Thank you. Again, I'm Anna Rushing Duvall. I live at 388 Triangle Road in Lexington, South Carolina. I am a graduate of Forest Hills High School and grew up, there you go Jackets, and grew up in Union County. I'm one of the members of the Ann Sechrest Rushing Limited Family Partnership, which owns this land. We, the family partnership, are asking for the council's approval to rezone our property located along Fowler Sechrest Road. I want to establish that this property is owned by a family. It's not owned by a corporation or an investment firm, but a family with generational ties to this land. When we reluctantly acknowledged that it was time to let go of our last parcel of land on Fowler Sechrest Road, we wanted whatever became of this land to be very special. We want something that's going to honor our memory of playing in the farm fields on the land while also serving the residents of Monroe. We believe the final proposed project for an active adult community meets those goals as well as honors the concerns of the community. The developer's desire to listen to and with that intent to understand the community's apprehensions and their willingness to make significant changes to their proposal to address those concerns is commendable. Last week, my brother sent an email to this group summarizing the substantial changes that the developer made in response to the community's concerns. And I hope you had a chance to view that email and note the extent of all the concessions that have been made. We support the City of Monroe's planning staff's recommendation to approve this rezoning. And we urge you to consider this project as a reasonable use of the land that is also in the public interest. I know growth can be exciting and challenging and hopeful and frightening. We ask that you navigate these emotions skillfully and base your decision on what is best for the diverse community of the City of Monroe. I truly appreciate this opportunity to address the City Council, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Gentlemen, do y'all have anything else?
Any questions you might have?
Any questions from council? Okay, thank you very much. Next speaking in favor is Kyle Tipperford.
That's him. That's
All right, you
him.
did a great job. Thank you. All right, we have a few signed up in opposition. Bill Hepler. Bill, if you would give your name and address to the clerk, please, for the record.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for taking your time to hear me. I am Bill Hepler. I live at 3108 Creekwood Drive, which is the house that adjacents the property directly behind it. We've lived there for over 20 years now, so we definitely have appreciation for what's going on and what has happened. Unlike the picture shows, the trees aren't there anymore. They're gone. It was a beautiful forest, and we enjoyed it while we had the chance to enjoy it. The people have made a valiant effort to come in and turn it into something else, and I can understand why they would want to do that with such a beautiful piece of property. However, 1,400 square foot homes don't fit what's in the neighborhood there. If you go out Fowler Secrest, you can see lots of nice homes out through there. Most of them are brick. I heard the guys say tonight that the new homes might be brick. That's not what I saw on the plan that was submitted. I'm assuming the planning board will see that in the revised plans that go to them that they've already turned down. I don't know why we're even reviewing it if they've turned it down anyway. We have some nice homes out there. I don't think a HUD development or HUD criteria development, I don't know if the city of Monroe is set up to monitor that or not. Who's going to pay for the monitoring of that? Who's going to pay for all the other things that the guys say they're going to do that's not on the plans? I've been in construction almost 50 years, and I've learned a long time ago, if it ain't on the plans, you don't get it. So if they don't put it on there and resubmit it and do a better job of it, I think we need to turn it down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hepler. Next, David Dawson, please.
Any chance to get that mask off is a good thing, I think. Good evening to the council, to some of the members I haven't met before. Good evening. To try not to rehash what was just said to you, if you can look at the site plan, there's a stream that runs below where that pond is. The reason that you see that open area is because you just can't build on it. The reason that you have down to 100 is because you have to have two entrances for more than 100 residences. There was such a backlash about anywhere you put these entrances was a problem. Either the curve or in the entrance, or an entrance into Foxton, which only has one entrance as well. That's why some of these changes are made. It was out of necessity to try to get something to be put on here. But I'll just say that so I don't forget. But let me get started with this. After review of the Blair Place development proposal and input by several citizens, the planning board adopted a resolution recommending to the city council the denial of the zoning amendment requested for the Blair Place development. One of the problems with lot sizes, Mr. Gordon, you were talking about earlier, if you look, it's hard to see with what you may have. A majority of these lots are almost R10. We're going from R40 to R10. 64 are less than 10,000 square feet. 80 are less than 11,000 square feet. With all 100 lots being placed on just 23.36 acres with an actual density of the development being 4.2 residences per acre. And that's just simply looking at the size of the lots. I'm not going to go over everything I have here, but I will say this. There's a lot of weight being thrown around for 55 plus being senior, and I don't believe that's senior, to be quite honest with you. At 55, my daughter will be getting ready to learn how to drive. If I was to live in this community, I'm going to need, it's just crazy to think that those people don't drive and their families don't drive. But I'll say this. Blair Place is being given to the city council as a planned community for seniors. Yet when you look at the amenities, it doesn't have a clubhouse, community center, a fitness center, an outdoor or indoor pool, a tennis court, or any other amenity that would cater to anyone who is a senior who is wanting to live in a planned community. Nothing like what you see in the rest of the county or anywhere else as far as the planned communities go. And in order to legally exclude younger buyers, Blair Place would need to maintain 80% of the homeowners as occupants of 55 or older. Without the amenities, with the small lots, and a stated price point of between $400,000 and $500,000, it would seem very difficult for me to believe that they would be able to maintain that. Once they lose it, we just have a regular development. That's what it goes to. And so I know the council's goal is to seek lasting communities to be built for the future residents as well as the current residents. And I hope that the council will take the time and consideration to deny the request for a zoning amendment for Blair Place. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Cynthia Williams. If you would give your name and address, please.
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Would you give your name and address, please, for the clerk?
My name is Lucynthia Williams, Cindy Williams. I live at 3116 Creekwood Drive. My big concerns many of them have already been stated. I do have a question, didn't have the opportunity to ask it because I'm not on the council. And by the way, I appreciate all of you allowing me to speak tonight. Stewart's Creek runs right behind my house. It floods. When it rains, we have Stewart's Creek up into almost to our lot. Stewart's Creek does not belong to us. We have 1 1/4 acres. Stewart's Creek is right beyond our lot, but it encroaches into our lot when it rains a lot. So I don't know where Stewart's Creek is on this. I do not know if that was taken into account that Stewart's Creek floods. And I don't know, but that is a big question that I do have that came up in my mind as I tried to figure it out on my map on my phone, and I couldn't really tell because I didn't know where the lot really was. And again, I will have to say that that area was full of gorgeous trees and the animals that live in those trees and in that area, and those trees aren't there anymore. Trust me, they're not. One of the biggest concerns I have is the road, and the gentleman from the company building this did bring up that they have taken that into account. I think it was you, Mr. Gordon, that brought up about the big curve. Creekwood Drive turns right off that big curve. So if we have 100 more cars going around that big curve, even if it's not during peak hours, it is a concern. Now, Fowler Seacrest Road goes to 74, or it goes to James Hamilton Road. There is not a light on James Hamilton. It's not terribly busy. It is busy, though. We do have on Fowler Seacrest Road I moved from Florida 13 years ago. North Carolina Highway Patrol on that road, so we do have Highway Patrol going in and out a lot on that road. But if you go to 74 from Fowler Seacrest, you do have a traffic signal. I have set as long as 3 traffic signals to get onto 74 for a road that is not busy. 3 signals is a lot to wait, trying to make the left-hand turn to go to Target. If you go to James Hamilton, there is no signal there. You turn right, it goes out to Rocky River, which is right there on Highway 74. There are no lights there. I have had to sit for a number of minutes waiting to get onto Rocky River because the traffic is heavy. Yes, I'm about time. Okay, so my biggest concern is what is the infrastructure plans for that highway, because it is not safe now to add that many road cars, even if they're not traveling at business hours. And if you'll notice that, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. And I'm asking you to vote no to this. I think you figured that out.
Thank you very much. Bob, Untitled, please.
Bob Yanchek, 513 Everett Street. I've been following this project since it first came on. And I think one of the biggest concerns has always been traffic there at Fowler Seacrest and 74 that backs up for blocks and blocks, especially during rush hour. And then recently, City Council just approved a project on Highway 74, which is going to encourage more U-turns to go around that Fowler Seacrest and Independence. I think that's another one of these projects to where they slightly modify it to try and meet those those concerns, but like Mr. Dotson said, with 55 and older, I think unrealistically, the traffic's going to be the same as if it was not an age-restricted development. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure if the city has any enforcement action if, say, in 3 years, it doesn't meet the requirements. Are we going to start evicting people that don't meet the requirements in the house? I don't believe so. So I think that the main concern still hasn't been met. Just by changing it and calling it a 55 and older development with no amenities is just kind of like putting lipstick on a pig. So I'd say I'd vote no until we get some of the explosive growth under control.
Thank you, sir. William Muskimi? Muskimi, I'm sorry. Muskimi. Good afternoon, sir. If you would give your name and address to the clerk, please.
Pardon me?
If you would give your name and address, please.
I will. My name is William McSkimming. I live at 2502 Saddlebred Way in Monroe, North Carolina. City Council, Mayor, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I have several things to go over, and I'll try to keep it to the 3 minutes that is allotted. In Carrie's proposal, she said that the developer had 3 meetings with the owners. 2 of those meetings were by Zoom during the pandemic state, and the last meeting was at Rolling Hills Country Club in June of last year. At all 3 of those meetings, which I attended all 3, density of the lots and the lot size was a major concern of all the residents that were at those meetings. That density came out as traffic, it came out as water management, it came out as safety issues and other things. And I don't believe that the new plan that's been presented addresses that density at all. There's still concerns, even though, as was said earlier, the number of lots was decreased because the developer didn't think there was any way they could get a second entrance approved, and that become relatively apparent to them. As one of the other people said, I looked at the lot sizes. 57 lots in this proposed development are less than 9,500 square feet. 67 of the lots are less than 10,000 square feet. I don't know how the city planners came up with an average lot size of 12,000. When I added up the lot size, I came somewhere between 10 and 11,000 square feet. But again, that's because as you go around a curve and you get pie-shaped lots, those lots become very big, as opposed to all the lots that are on a straightaway are like 9,200, 9,400 square feet, and that's the majority of the lots. Traffic is still a concern in the area, even with an age-restricted community. The City Council voted in favor of a plan on Seacrest Price that's going to make that into a gated road where many of the residents in the Seacrest Fowler area used Seacrest Price Road as a way to head towards Charlotte coming out, because going to that light takes 3 or 4 turns of the light. And now with in the future that road, Seacrest Price, being blocked off as a gated community, that's going to eliminate that exit onto 74, and that's going to compound the traffic that's going to be at that intersection. I think that we need to consider the future of our children and our families. I'm not sure what type of person wants to live in a lot that's 10,000 square feet. I haven't met any recently. You know, I think that this property should stay in R40. I feel for the Seacrest family, but I feel that there's another developer that would come along and be just as interested in this property that would maintain the integrity of the community and the R40 lot size. And in the new Monroe plan, this property is designated as low density, and that would be an R20 to R40, and I think that should be adhered to in any plans for the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Judith Roche.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I listened to everyone, and they basically all said what I wanted to say. But I do have a few comments. I am 68 years old, and I travel all hours of all days. I take grandchildren to school. I take them to doctor's appointments. I'm the person that my children come to when they're working and I'm not. So 55, we're not staying home we're not traveling after 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking everyone to school. The other thing is that there was a gentleman that said that he was going to ask everyone to stand up that's opposed to this. And I'm hoping that you will stand up now to show the mayor and the group of people that were opposed to Blair Place. The gentleman had told me that that would be a good thing to do. Please take the time right now and please stand up if you're opposed to Blair Place being done. Okay. Take a look at the other room. No, well, the other room, yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is, Mayor Holloway, is when I listened to everyone when it was time to vote, and you were adamant about finding us green space, parks and everything. So while I was sitting there and I was listening to the family, why doesn't the city of Monroe buy this land from them and make it into a park, a green space? It would be it would be a wonderful green space. And that would solve a lot of problems because everyone's opposed to this building. We would like it to maintain an R40 for the ability to just keep within the community and the already stressful environment that we have now until the city of Monroe starts doing some things with traffic and everything. Everyone here loves the city of Monroe, and we love the trees and the parks and the open space. I think that's what gives us the feeling. But if you could just look beyond building everything and do a moratorium right now and sit down with the people and ask us what we would like to see the city of Monroe. We're the ones that are going to be staying here and living here, and our children, our grandchildren. But maybe it's time that the city council sits and talks with us and says, what's your future look of the city of Monroe? So we can tell you, we want green space. We want some space between our neighbors. We want some parks. We want the downtown Monroe to shine. We went to your Christmas tree lighting, and it was so nice. But when we talked to other friends, do you want to go down City Monroe? No, we're going to Matthews. We're going to Indian Trail. They don't have nothing down there. But what I'm saying is, if you could please deny this project and keep the R40 and talk with us about what we really want, and maybe make a deal with this lady that wants to sell it and her family and keep it for green space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Blythe Chipman, please.
Next door. What's her name?
Ms. Chipman.
Hey there.
Good afternoon.
I'm Mary Blythe Chipman. My husband Chris and I have lived at 2116 Fox Hunt Drive for the last 22 years. We've raised our children there, an adult child and one headed that way. We're on the cusp of 55. We have 4 cars in our yard. Our big concern is traffic and safety surrounding that, and the concerns that have already been addressed are a lot of our concerns as well. We would love for this family to be able to sell their property at the current zoning, and we are very much opposed to changing that zoning. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Chipman. Okay, if there are no other further comments, I'll close the public hearing and move to take action.
Mayor, before I make my motion, I'm going to tell you why. My motion is going to be to adopt resolution denying land development plan compliance. Traffic is horrible, and it would only get worse. And second, in my opinion, you're going to drag down the quality of life when you put the danger to the kids and anybody else that drives Fowler Secret. So my motion is denied.
Mayor, if I could make one comment. along with Mr. Keziah. I live off of James Hamilton Road, so I hear what a lot of you are saying, because I live in that area. I love the area. But I do think the growth right now in that area is too much. I drive Fowler Secrest every day. I drive Secrest Shortcut every day. I drive James Hamilton every day. I see it 7 days a week. So I see it. I mean, I'm there. I see it. Even take those roads to go to church on Sunday. So it's a 7-day-a-week deal. So Mr. Keziah made the motion. And, you know, I realize there's a lot of emotions here for it. There's a lot of emotions against it. But I'm going to second his motion to deny the land development plan compliance.
So we've got a motion and a second to deny the resolution for the land development plan compliance. All in favor of denying, if you would raise your hand, please. All against denying it, if you'd raise your hand. Okay, so that was...
Mayor, make a motion to deny zoning map amendment.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of denying the zoning map amendment, signify by raising your hand. Those against denying it, if you would. Okay. Yeah, I think that is all for that. We thank everyone for your attendance on that.
Mayor, before you start with the next item, I do want to, I was asked a question by Councilmember Gordon.
Look at this, we got
to clarify the issue of sending items back to the planning board. You don't, that does not happen for this reason. There are some that have suggested in the community that anytime there's a significant change, something that has come to you has to go back to planning board. That's not the case. Under state law, the only time it starts to have to consider going back or being reviewed for proceeding in violation of the development approval is when there's been a development approval granted. What is that? Well, that would be when you've rezoned the property or zoned the property. So when folks are saying to you, well, this is different than what the planning board saw, it has to go back. It does not have to go back. That is a decision council can make if it believes is appropriate, but you are not required to do that. So I want to make sure that since some have tried to suggest that that's what the law says, I'm telling you what the law actually says in Chapter 160B, but happy to discuss that with members of council at their convenience.
Thank you, Mr. Chacon. I tell you, I'm going to ask for a 9-minute recess. If we could meet back in here a little before 8.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if it rings to them or not. It's just so much.
David Dodson. I got myself all stepping on my own words, got all nervous and crazy.
Keep it big.
Right now with a zoning amendment request to rezone properties located along West Roosevelt Boulevard, and we'll let Doug Britt make this presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Doug Britt in the Planning Department. And tonight I'm presenting a zoning map and text amendment request by Lotus 2730 LLC for the properties located along West Highway 74 near the intersection of Wilson Avenue. The applicant is requesting a conditional district in order to develop a market rate apartment complex. The total area of the project is 16.2 acres with a little over 11 acres of open space. This is a map to reach the site. As you can see, there are 3 properties involved in this rezoning, all of them outlined in blue. There along the front is West Highway 74, and there just to the east is Wilson Avenue. This is a zoning map of the area. As stated, the property is on GB General Business. As you can see, properties across the street are GB General Business as well. The properties to the east there, at the corner of Wilson Avenue and Highway 74 is GB. And then further going down Wilson Avenue, you see the gray colored properties, those are R20. And then the properties here to the rear of the site is R20, and then this portion is GB, as well as the property to the west is GB general business as well. The applicant is requesting a conditional district in order to develop a 242-unit apartment complex. The project will be comprised of 7 3-story buildings. The applicant is providing a fitness room, business center, as well as a coffee cafe, leasing office, dog park, swimming pool, and car wash as part of the amenities. The project is comprised of 24 3-bedroom units, 146 2-bedroom units, and 72 1-bedroom units, for a total of 242 units. The density of the proposed project is 14.9 units per acre. The setbacks for the site would be 50 feet on all property lines. I know it's easier to see on the map behind me versus the screen in front of me. But there'll be a minimum of 50-foot setback along the front property line, the sides, as well as the rear, and that would be a building setback, a minimum. The open space for the project is required to provide a minimum of 8.1 acres or a minimum of 50% of the project. But in this case, the applicant has to provide a little over 11 acres or 68% of open space. And as I stated earlier, the applicant is providing a fitness room, business center, a dog park, swimming pool, playground, and car wash as part of the amenity features for this proposal. The ordinance requires multifamily projects provide a 50-foot landscape buffer in order to screen the property from adjacent land uses. The applicant has to provide a 50-foot undisturbed buffer on all 4 sides of the project. As well, though, the applicant will, within the buffer, include a mixture of large maturing trees, small maturing trees, deciduous trees, evergreen trees, and a 6-foot-high fence will be located along this area right here at the site to provide more of a buffer along the residents in the Wilson Avenue area. So there, the buffers on all sides will be undisturbed, and then it will be some areas that will supplement some additional landscaping and trees, and then in this area, they will provide a fence to, mainly, the fence will be 6 foot high to prevent any headlights going through, especially during the fall or winter season when there's not as much foliage on the trees. All stream buffers located on the site have been provided with a 50-foot undisturbed buffer as required by the ordinance on both sides. As far as stormwater, the applicant will be required to provide stormwater management to treat stormwater runoff for the project. This will be reviewed and approved if the project is approved by council at the building permit stage of the process. As far as parking, based on the number of bedrooms and number of units proposed, the applicant will be required to provide 557 parking spaces for the site. The applicant is providing 564 spaces. Since this is a multifamily project and not a single-family project, as y'all seen tonight, with a single family you have streets and roads. On the multifamily projects, once you turn it off Highway 74, this is all privately maintained. There'll be no maintenance responsibilities. None of these are streets. These are all just drive aisles to a parking space. Nothing more like if you're going to Walmart or Food Line. This is all privately maintained by the developer and owner of the project. The project was required to do a traffic impact analysis, and the recommendations coming out of the traffic impact analysis that the entrance along Highway 74 would be a right in, right out, meaning that you can only turn right into the project off 74, and you can only turn right to exit the project on 74. There is, per fire code, there is emergency access along Melody Drive. The access will be gated, and it will be gated with a siren-activated gate, meaning that the only way the gates will be raised, as far as if there's an emergency vehicle that gets in close proximity to it, to trigger the gate to raise. It will not be, the rear access will not be for the general public to use, the residents of Wilson Avenue, Melody Drive, or the residents of the apartment complex. It will only be for emergency access only. Developer is required to provide a 10-foot multi-use path along the exterior of the project on Highway 74, and that will be located in this area here. That would be, it'd be paved like a sidewalk, but it is required to be 10 feet. This project does fall within the Rocky River Elementary Monroe Middle, and Monroe High. Per Don Ogren with Union County Public Schools, the project is not proposed to have an adverse impact on enrollment versus capacity. This is a colored site plan, so you can see the landscaping or the buffer along the sides and the rear. And this is why I mentioned as far as the streams, there is a 50-foot stream buffer required. The stream goes through the middle of the site here, and that's what you see, the landscaping there. That will be undisturbed as well. And then obviously you can see the buildings here. The main amenity area will be located in this area, as well as the parking lot landscaping that will be required for the site as well. The elevations, developer proposing the exterior building materials to include fiber cement, stone, and/or brick. Vinyl siding may be utilized for eaves, soffits, and windows. The square footage will be as follows. The one-bedroom units will be a minimum of 600 heated square feet. The two-bedroom units will be a minimum of 900 square feet. And the three-bedroom units will be a minimum of 1,100 square feet. Again, this shows their access going into the site. And this shows the example of the gated access that will be along the rear. This is possibly a different type of gates they would use. And I'll say it again, the gate will be siren activated. That would only be utilized for emergency vehicles to access the gate. This project does fall within the land development plan known as the community corridor, and a very small portion on the back portion of the suburban corridor, but primarily, we deemed it to be a community corridor since it was over 95% within that area. The community corridor does allow a density of up to 10 units per acre and does promote as far as multifamily and commercial uses. Plan staff is opinion the development pattern of multifamily residential at this location at 14.9 units per acre is not consistent with land development plan, but is a reasonable use for the property being located on Highway 74. The developer did have a neighborhood meeting on June 7th to discuss the project with the neighbors of the area, and there was a significant turnout. We had probably approximately 25 to 30 people at that meeting. The property was posted 10 days prior to tonight's public hearing, as well as there was 48 properties that will mail notifications of tonight's meeting. Plan staff did recommend approval of the conditional district exchange apartments, and the plan board did recommend denial of conditional district exchange apartments with a 7-1 vote. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any at this time. And of course, the developer's here to make a presentation as well. Yes, sir.
You said planning board and staff both approved this? Tell me, I missed it.
Plan staff recommended approval of it, and planning board recommend denial 7-1.
Any questions for Doug?
Okay.
Mr. Lee gonna do the presentation?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Yeah, it's Sarah's.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Mayor, council members, James Allen Lee, 314 North Haynes Street. Thank y'all for hearing us today. I've previously talked to many of you about this project. Tonight we have with us Sarah Shirley, who's a licensed landscape architect with American Engineering. She's going to do our main presentation. And Edith Peters, who is a licensed professional engineer with Davenport Engineering, is here as well to discuss traffic matters. As they said, there was a traffic impact analysis done on this site. I believe y'all are familiar with this location right there on Highway 74 as you're coming into Monroe. Yes, sir.
Very familiar.
Okay. And it's an eyesore right now. This is the gateway. We've got the bypass there. You've got, it's in close proximity to the Monroe Business Park over there by the airport, where we have lots of employers coming in. Monroe does not have Class A apartments right now. There's a demographic need for this type of project. If somebody's coming in, a new hire for one of the great businesses we have here, you know where they're going to get apartments when they first move in? They're heading to Indian Trail or to Matthews or into Charlotte. And where are they going to end up living and shopping and doing that stuff? And where are they going to meet friends and neighbors? They're going to meet them there when they start looking for a house for all these other projects and things that are going on. They're going to be looking in that area. We need something here in Monroe to keep these people here. There is a need for this project. This is, in my opinion, a gateway project. You come in off of Rocky River Road, you're heading into Monroe, this is what you're going to see. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to show you our presentation, but I'm available, Sarah's available, and Edith are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Council. My name is Sarah Shirley, licensed landscape architect with American Engineering, 8008 Corporate Center Drive in Charlotte. We just want to say thank you for having us here tonight. This is something that we have worked on for over a year, and we are genuinely excited about the opportunity. So the first thing that we have a question for that we've gotten asked is why apartments? There are a number of factors that make this a viable option versus the by right commercial zoning that currently exists. As James mentioned, employers are moving to Monroe, and there's a sincere lack of Class A rental apartments in the city. The current age of the existing apartments is more than 20 years old. So there's a whole market that's out there that's being missed. They're looking for newer apartments that have all of the amenities that they're looking for. Even within those 20-plus-year-old apartment communities, there's a slew of waiting lists for people to even get in. The availability of apartments is sincerely lacking in the city of Monroe. And as James mentioned, this is a gateway to the city of Monroe, and this property is an opportunity to provide a gateway that is befitting to the city. And why apartments versus commercial? Well, commercial has certain litmus tests that have to be met in order for it to be a viable option for the city. And frankly, this property doesn't have any commercial users that are approaching it for the use. We ran a couple example traffic counts. As part of the neighborhood meeting and as part of planning board, the question was asked, what would a by right commercial use versus the proposed apartment use produce in terms of traffic counts? And so this was prepared by Davenport. You'll see in yellow, you'll see it better on that screen, that the proposed apartment use is proposed to produce about 1,700 traffic trips. If we were to do a general commercial use, that would produce about 7,900 vehicle trips per day. We also ran a couple different scenarios. We were asked, what if we had more of a mixed-use option for the site, something like Popland Place? Or what if we just proposed a grocery store? So we ran both of those as traffic counts. A mixed-use site like Popland Place would produce 14,000 vehicle trips per day, and a supermarket would produce anywhere from 5,300 vehicle trips per day. So all the by right commercial options would automatically produce more vehicle trips per day, as well as that second entrance onto Melody Drive, which we can currently restrict to any public use, would be open to access the back of the shopping center. So as part of the community feedback, we heard three main concerns: stormwater, traffic, and buffering for the existing residents. Because this property is, again, currently zoned to commercial use, to bring in an apartment use, we would automatically have that 50-foot perimeter buffer as part of it. For stormwater, all of our site actually drains internally to that stream and then north off of the site. So anything that flows onto our property actually flows from the existing Helms Park neighborhood through our property. And as part of that, again, rezoning is just a request for the use. We have to go through a very extensive civil design process that would put this site through design, where we'd have to accommodate for all of that off-site drainage to either treat it on site or to allow it to remain in its current condition to flow off of the site. So there's two conditions. One specific condition that came out as part of planning board was an existing resident had a concern about stormwater on his property. So we reached out to the city engineering team, who was actually familiar with the issue. And it was a combination of maintenance for an existing driveway culvert and insufficient grading on the site. So the existing neighborhood that is to our south and southeast was developed prior to stormwater measurement regulations. Those are no longer applicable, and any site that is designed after 2008 has to meet these very stringent stormwater regulations and requirements. And as part of that, you'll see on our site, we actually have a couple different areas that we have reserved for stormwater management. These would be designed by licensed civil engineers, subject to approval by state and city licensed engineers, and go through rigorous sizing and design approvals. Traffic. A traffic impact analysis was performed by Davenport by a licensed professional engineer. All the counts and all of the data that came out of that, all the empirical evidence and data that came out of that had to be approved by the City of Monroe Engineering Department and had to be approved by NCDOT. And all of the improvements that are required as part of that TIA will be imposed as part of the development project, paid for by the developer, no city money. Buffering. We take very seriously the existing privacy of the existing residents as well as the privacy for our proposed residents. And so we actually had a fence proposed just for the eastern boundary. And as a request by the adjacent neighbors, we added a southern fence line along that. And as part of that, we are looking at, and we would evaluate as part of the civil design, the quality of the existing undisturbed buffer. And where needed, we would supplement with evergreen material. So the benefit of having a licensed landscape architect on staff for the project is that we automatically get a good planting plan that observes low maintenance, high quality evergreen material. And as part of that privacy for existing residents, we actually reoriented the buildings so that no windows face the adjacent neighborhood. So all of the buildings had been reoriented. We had buildings that were up against the property line, and we have oriented those away. So we did a couple different examples. We wanted to find the closest building to the property line and the closest building to the closest apartment building. So the closest building to a property line is 100 feet away. When you combine that with the 50-foot perimeter buffer, as well as an additional 10-foot planting strip and fence, privacy fence that we're proposing for the site and committing to as part of this proposal, we have more than 160 feet from a home to a parking aisle, basically, parking bay. The closest home to the closest apartment building is more than 210 feet away, and that does include the 50-foot buffer as well as the 10-foot planting strip and fence. So this again addressed the existing stormwater concern. The city actually has told us that they have it on their maintenance schedule to take care of that existing driveway culvert that's causing an issue for the existing resident. And the developer has even said if the maintenance of that pipe doesn't alleviate the problem, we would propose to replace that pipe for the property owner. So we just wanted to give you an idea of how we developed this plan in the first place, to give it a little bit of history. So we start with the entrance off of 74, and the first thing that we wanted everybody to see is the amenity building. So the amenity building would take place on the first floor of the first apartment building, and you'd be able to see through it to the pool area and the amenity area behind it. We wanted to make sure to give the buildings as much green space around them as possible, and also to pull them away from that eastern property line to the extent that we could. We've got that gated access that is closed permanently unless there is an emergency vehicle that needs to access it and could not for any reason access it off of 74. And then we also just have our stormwater areas, our vegetated buffer, everything we've mentioned to date. These are a couple different images of similar apartment communities that our developer has worked on. And these would be interior images, community area images. This is our proposed amenities plan and list for the property. Again, pool, a bark park, it's not called a dog park anymore, play areas, car wash, fitness center, community center. This is the current site condition. This is the current gateway into the city of Monroe. The property owners have dealt stringently with vacancy issues, people trespassing on their property, vagrants, thieves working on their property. They are just as concerned with making sure that this is a gateway that's beneficial to the city of Monroe as the city of Monroe is. Another current site condition. But this is what we would propose as part of the project. This is the new entrance off of 74 into the apartment community. We'd get to see the clubhouse at the very beginning, and we get to see a beautiful landscaped entrance off of 74. And again, the amenity center. So with that, I will open it for questions, and thank you again.
Council have any questions for Ms. Shirley? Is someone else going to come up, Ms. Shirley?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and I'd like to mention that we did get one written petition with 82 signatures in opposition. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the project? If you would, please give your name and address, please.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Robert Garrison. I live at 2209 Melody Drive. And I'm here tonight to express my support for the proposed rezoning of the two properties located on Highway 74 West. This location on Roosevelt Boulevard would be a welcoming addition to the area with the proposed high quality apartment complex. Based on the quality of the builder's prior projects, these apartments, with the anticipated rent rates the tenants will bring with them, they will have healthy, disposable incomes. This growth would be beneficial for the many small businesses and restaurants located in the shopping centers on Highway 74 going into Monroe. Poplar Place, Nottingham Plaza, Union Square, and of course Monroe Shopping Mall. The additional tax revenue that we will receive from the property tax on these apartments and the sales tax revenue received from the people who will make Monroe their homes will be a definite benefit for the city of Monroe and Union County, not to mention the monthly revenue from the city utilities for water and gas. I think this kind of development will entice those individuals to stay in Monroe and start families and move on to more traditional family dwellings later. On August the 7th of last year, there was an article in the Monroe Inquirer Journal. The writer stated that we should relax and loosen housing and zoning regulations to make it easier to provide housing for more people. The writer also stated that when neighborhoods resist new construction, it's not about roads or traffic or water or the safety of the children. These pre-existing residents in the neighborhood want to keep things the way they were 20 to 30 years ago when they moved there. There will always be tension between the existing residents for things to remain the same and newcomers trying to create new opportunities for our residents and others that are wanting to move to Union County. During the campaign for this office last year, one of the council members' slogan was, "Move Monroe forward." By voting yes on this rezoning, you will be doing just that. I think this type of development is good for the city of Monroe's growth and for the city of Monroe and the economy. Thank you.
Mr. Garrison, what was the first name?
Robert.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we've got people signed up in opposition. Ruth Helms, please.
Hello, my name is Ruth Helms. I'm married to Robert O. Helms Jr., and we live on 2201 Melody Drive. I have some pictures here I want to show you because I am concerned about the water problem. Robert's father developed Helms Park in the 60s. In 1974, we built the A-frame house that you will see. We tied strings on trees to make sure we didn't get close to that little ditch that went down through there. We had to replace our driveway 6 or 7 times, and as long as we lived there until 1999, we never had a problem with water coming into our basement area. And you see the A-frame there, it does have a basement area. We now live on 2201 Melody Drive, which is right next door, because we built our house when we were in the county, and we could not build on the other 2 lots until the city took us. So that's the reason we built in 1999. We have at least 50 or 65 acres that drain down through that. It goes down through my yard, goes through the other yard, and goes on to this property. We've had as many as 3 to 4 engineers tell us they can't do anything about our problem. Those pictures were made in either 2019 or 2020, and you can see where all the water. It went over our driveway and into the next driveway and into Mr. Main, who bought our old A-frame house, either 2 or 3 feet into his basement area, the last time we had the flooding water problem. The only other problem I have besides the water problem is this gate that they're saying they're going to put down at the end of our driveway or our main little street. It is for fire, rescue, and police. With 200 and something apartments, that's 500 or 600 people. Every weekend, every week, there's going to be something going in and out of those apartments with fire engines and sirens blazing. Your fire department is on old 74. So they're going to come down 74, the old 74, turn down Wilson Avenue, down to Scotty Lane and Melody Drive to get into that gate. They say they won't do it, but I'm sure they will. The only other main problem we have, I'm getting ready to cut off, is when you come out of this driveway, go in one way and come out the other, you're going to have to take a right. They're going to take a right. They're going to be right down Melody Drive, right down Wilson Avenue, all the way down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett. Okay, Bob Yanachek.
Bob Yanachek, 513 Everett Street, and I followed this project from the beginning also. And I was curious what had changed from the planning board presentation to this one. I haven't seen a whole lot of difference. Like the lady said, it is interesting that it'll be right out only, which means the first road you'd come to is Wilson, or you'd have to go down and make U-turn at the project that we just denied, which is Fowler Seacrest, which would be another U-turn, which would add 300 or 400 cars doing a U-turn during the day. So unless something was drastically changed from planning board, and Mr. Mujib is correct that you don't have to send it back to planning, but you can't vote against it if planning voted against it. So I'd just like to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, being no other comments, I'll close the public hearing and move to take action. Do I have a motion from anyone, please?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we move to deny the resolution approving this land development plan. And let me say, I live in this area, and I understand the water issues. I understand the neighborhood. I also have a question. I know that the gate to Melody Drive, those are very narrow roads. How would an emergency vehicle get down there if they needed to? I know that access is required. I understand all that. And actually, this is a very beautiful plan. My personal feeling on it is it just isn't the right place to put it. So that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the land development plan compliance. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, excuse me, adopting the resolution denying the land development plan compliance, signify by raising your hand if you would, please. Those opposed to denying the land development plan compliance, raise your hand. Okay. So it's 6-1. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion for the next item to see?
Motion to deny zoning map amendment.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny the zoning map amendment. Those in favor of denying the zoning map amendment signify by raising your hand, please. Those opposed to denying it, raise your hand, please.
I got a question, Mary. Can Sarah come up and explain this stormwater situation? Because I've been hearing things about that for several years in that community. Like, why can't that be fixed? Like, what's going on with that?
Let me make a suggestion. Why don't we put that on our strategic planning for next time? That'd be a good idea. Okay, next is a annexation and zone amendment request to rezone properties along Marion Lee Road, Highway 601 and White Store Road. And Doug Britt will give this presentation.
Ray?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doug.
Okay. Give you Mayor and Council, again, Doug Britt, Plan Department. This is 2 items on your agenda. Annexation and rezoning, it's going to be 2 items, but 1 presentation. And we'll take care of it at the end. We have steps set for you, like I said. So 2 agenda items with 1 presentation. This is the annexation, zoning map, and zoning text amendment request by Stratford Land for the properties located along U.S. Highway 601, White Store Road, and Marion Lee Road. The total area being requested to be annexed and developed is 340.514 acres. The applicant is requesting a conditional district in order and annexation to develop a 689 lot residential subdivision that will consist of both single-family attached homes and detached homes, as well as a commercial area that's identified for future development. Again, the total area being requested is 340.514 acres. The oriented property, the 2 properties are outlined in blue, as you can see on the map. The orange line, you see that runs along, this would be Lake Lee. This is the current city limit line. The green line is the current ETJ line, or extraterritorial jurisdiction. Here is White 601, and this is White Store Road. And of course, back up this way would be Hilltop and Food Line. This is the Monroe Country Club, and again, this is Lake Lee. This is zoning map. Again, as you can see, the orange line represents the city limits. This property, the larger portion is within the ETJ, and then the smaller portion south of Marion Lee Road is outside ETJ. The properties to the north here, Lake Lee Estates, are zoned R20. This is the maroon color here. This is a conditional district, Cottage Green. As well, if you go down White Store Road and 601, these bluish color, these are RA20 in Union County, as well as the light tan color here to the south are RA40 in Union County. Then everything else you see wrapping around are all is all R20 in the city of Monroe. The applicant is requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop a 689 lot residential subdivision as stated, consists of both single-family attached and detached homes with approximately 45% or 154 acres of open space. The 15.13 acres of commercial, if developed in the future, will be required to be processed as an amendment to the conditional district if approved. So I just want to make clear, the 15 acres of commercial is located here along 601. And there's nothing that's part of the request tonight. They're not proposing any type of commercial. So if this project was approved tonight and they wanted to come back, 2 years later to develop that commercial portion, they'd have to go through the amendment process to do what they're doing now. They go through the whole entire process, showing what they would do, showing a site plan. So the commercial is earmarked, but there's no development plans for any type of commercial project associated with this project at all. The minimum lot size for single-family attached townhomes will be 2,200 square feet with an average of 2,225 square feet. The lot sizes for the detached homes will range from 6,875 square feet to approximately 31,000 square feet with an average of a little over 9,300 square feet. The density of the proposed project at 689 lots is 2.12 units per acre. And just to kind of go over the site plan a little bit, as stated, this is the commercial area. The townhomes are located in this area up in here to the far north, and there's 100 townhomes being proposed for the site. The tan lots to go kind of buffer the townhomes and the commercial and go down 601 and also are primarily on the south side of Marion Lee Road. These are the 55-foot wide lots. There's 277 of the 55-foot wide lots. The blue lots that are in the middle of the site, those are the 65-foot wide lots, and there's 286 of those 65-foot wide lots. And then finally, the yellow lots that are adjacent to Lake Lee, those are a minimum of 100-foot wide, and there's 26 of those. So that gets us to the total of 689, including the townhomes. The setbacks for townhomes will be a front setback of 20 feet. Obviously, the interior units will be 0. The end units will be 15, and they're proposing a 0 rear yard setback for the townhomes. The 55 and 65-foot wide lots, they'll have a front setback of 20, a corner setback of 12 feet, a side setback of 7 feet, and a rear setback of 30 feet. So if the sides are 7 feet, that means there'll be a minimum of 14 feet between houses. The 100-foot wide lots located along the lake, those will have a 20-foot front setback, a 15-foot corner setback, and then a 15-foot side setback and a 30-foot rear. So your minimum distance between homes on the lake side, there'll be a minimum of 30 feet between the homes. Developer is proposing to install a 5-foot sidewalk on both sides of all the interior streets. As well, they'll install a 8-foot sidewalk along the White Store Road frontage, this location, as well as a 8-foot sidewalk along the entire frontage of 601, as well as an 8-foot sidewalk on both sides of which they have property developing of Marion Lee Road. The project is required to provide at least 12.5% of open space of land area for a residential portion of the project, which would equal approximately 40 acres. The applicant is providing 45% or a little over 154 acres of open space. Developers proposing 6 amenity areas, 4 will be active and 2 will be passive. And I'll go through the amenity. The main amenity feature will be located in the interior of the site. At that location, we're proposing a 1,400 square foot cabana with restrooms, a swimming pool, as well as playground set and fitness stations. Amenity A will be to the far north of the project. That will include benches, playground, general purpose field, and fitness stations. Amenity C will be at this location, which will include a sitting area and fitness stations. Amenities D will be along the lake area, which include fitness stations and playground. And amenity E will be along the lake area as well, which will be included sitting areas and fitness stations. And then finally, amenity area F will be south of Marion Lee Road, which will include a playground set and fitness stations. All single-family homes will have sided front yards prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy. The applicant will be required or has committed to 2 front yard trees for the 55, 65, 100-foot wide lots at the time of CO, and as well as street trees will provide throughout the development. The ordinance requires for adjacent to the townhome portion of multifamily to be a 50-foot buffer. So they're providing a 25-foot buffer, but the 25-foot buffer in conjunction with the open space will allow them to achieve the 50-foot buffer in this area. Additionally to this site, they have provided a 50-foot buffer. This is Canterbury Lane at this location, which I think is probably like, I don't know, 15 or 16 lots. And the lots that back up to the project, they provided a 50-foot buffer in this area as well to help buffer the project. As far as if you can see on the site plan, as far as additional buffers, they did provide a 100-foot lake buffer that will be buffer along Lake Lee. The buffer will be entirely within the common open space, will not be within any lots, so it will be strictly within the open space. And also they provided, as required by the ordinance, a 50-foot buffer on both sides of the streams. And the streams are the light blue areas, this location here, 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 and here, and those areas are required to be undisturbed. Again, this shows the buffers a little bit better here. You can see the lake buffer and then the stream buffer where everything was turned off. And this shows their landscaping or street trees throughout this project as well. There's a minimal amount of floodplain that's located within this project, less than an acre, and is located in this area down in here. The floodplain is located on the site is strictly within the open space. It's not on any lots. As I stated, all the streams will have a 50-foot understood buffer, and the lake buffer is 100 feet. The proposed lake buffer at state will also be located entirely within common open space and will remain completely undisturbed. The stormwater, the applicant will be required to provide stormwater management to treat the stormwater runoff for the project. The stormwater will be evaluated and reviewed if approved by City Council at the building permit stage. This property is located in a critical water supply watershed, which limits the overall impervious area to no more than 36% for the overall development, including the future commercial, which all that would be reviewed if the project is approved at the building permit stage. Now I'm going to start going into a little bit of the transportation stuff. The project was required to do a traffic impact analysis, and I'll go through the improvements. This location here, we're at the intersection of Highway 74 and White Star Road. This would be the Jack in the Box, Hilltop, Metro Medical, and the Food Line area. There's currently a right turn lane that will allow you to currently turn right off of Highway 74 onto 601. Developer, per the traffic study, will be required to add an additional right turn lane. There's currently one left turn lane that allows you to turn left off of 74 onto Pageland Highway. Developers, as part of the traffic study, will be required to install an additional left turn lane, which will provide 2 left turn lanes. So you have 2 left turn lanes to turn left on the 601, and then you'll have 2 right turn lanes that allow you to turn right on the 601. And then finally, there's currently 2 left turn lanes that allow you to turn left off of 601 on the 74. The developer, per the traffic study, is required to install a 3rd left turn lane. There's no road widening or road extension of the pavement. DOT stated if it's geometrically feasible, they will require it. I know, so I'm not giving you concrete whether it's required or not. That will be determined by DOT when they go through plans, construction plans, and based on survey data. DOT, and speaking of DOT, it feels that they do believe it. They can squeeze another turn lane in there, but that won't be finally determined until that time as far as when they go to submit. This is now up here at the top. We was at 601 and 74. Now we've gone a little bit further down. This is the Cottage Green subdivision. This is White Shore Road. This would be White Shore Road on the other side. Developers require per the TA to install a right turn lane on 601 to turn right onto White Store Road. As well, they will be required to install a right turn lane on White Store Road to turn right onto Pageland Highway or 601. Additionally, on the other side of White Store Road, they'll be required to, because at this location here, this is going to be the main access for the project, and you see they'll be required to do a stoplight at that location. As well, they'll be required to install a right turn lane on White Store Road to turn right onto Pageland Highway. Obviously, we'll have a through lane, so you can go straight across on White Store Road to cross over 601 to go into the project. And also, developer will be required to install a left turn lane on White Store Road to be able to turn left onto 601. And of course, all that will be regulated by the stoplight. On 601 itself, they'll be required to restripe and to create a left turn lane to turn left off of 601 onto White Store Road, as well as a left turn lane to going in the north direction to turn left off of 601 into the project. And of course, in the project itself, as far as leaving, they'll have dual left turn lanes to turn out to go to 601, as well as a right turn lane, as well as a straight lane. All roads within the project will be reviewed and approved by engineering. They'll all be maintained by the City of Monroe, so they'll all be public roads. As far as the school goes, again, the project has 689 lots. It does fall within the Rockrest Elementary, East Union Middle, and Forest Hills High School. Per Don Ogram with Union County Public Schools, this project is not expected to have a development, will not have an adverse effect on enrollments at the schools mentioned. Now to touch on the elevations. As stated, we're going to have single-family attached townhomes and detached homes within the project. There are 100 townhomes and 589 of the detached homes. The exterior building materials will be, the project will consist of brick, fiber cement, stone, and stucco. Developers proposing the front facades of all homes to consist of at least 25% brick or stone. Vinyl will only be used for eaves, soffits, trim, and windows. The minimum heated square footage of the single-family attached townhomes will be 1,360 square feet, excluding the garage, and the minimum square footage for the single-family detached homes will be 1,600 square feet with a range up to 3,200 square feet, excluding the garage. The homes constructed on a slab foundation will be provided with a brick or stone water table that extends at least 18 inches above the finished floor on the front and the side facades. All 26 of the lakefront lots will be provided with side-load garages, and developers committed to a minimum of 50% or 143 of the 65-foot wide lots will be provided with side-load garages as well. So the minimum side-load garages that would be within this project will be 169 between half of the 65-foot wide lots and all of the the lakefront lots. I'll go through the elevations. These are the example elevations they proposed. And two, with the townhomes, they're proposing the interior units to have single-car garages, and the exterior townhome units to provide two-car garages. These are examples of the 55 and 65-foot ranch styles, of course, with the front-load garages. And these are examples of the 55 and 65-foot wide lots, two-story homes. These are examples of 65-foot wide lots that would have these side-load garages.
How big are those houses going to be?
The minimum square footage would be 1,600 square feet for all the single family. Obviously, they said they'll go up to 3,200, but the minimum will be 1,600 square feet, excluding the garage. And then these would be examples of the 100-foot wide lots that will be along the lake that would be required also to be side-load garages. And again, the square footage, they're just doing a minimum of 1,600 for all the detached homes. Of course, that would be the smallest but obviously they could do larger as well. The parking, based on the townhomes, that they will be required to provide a total of 342 parking spaces. They're providing 368 spaces total. They're also providing a little overflow parking area, 26 spaces that will be separate from townhomes, just for overflow if somebody's having a party or gathering or whatnot. The land development plan does indicate this property falls within the suburban land use classification. The suburban land use classification is characterized by a mix of lot size and a mix of housing types, a density range of 2 to 4 units per acre. This proposal is consistent with that request, a density of a little over 2 units per acre. As far as from the Water Resource Department, because this is something we're starting to do now with development agreements based on, we're just make sure we're not over committing ourselves capacity. The Water Resource Department has taken proactive steps to prevent any over allocation of capacity as experienced by surrounding jurisdictions. A phased sewer permitting and water meter sets via the attached development agreement supports the implementation of the city sewer capacity use strategy for balancing residential and non-residential projects. Based on our current water and sewer capacity, flow projections, and planned capital improvements, the City of Monroe has water and sewer capacity to serve this project. The applicant did send out a neighborhood notification on August 6th, as well as we did post the property 10 days at least prior to this meeting, and we mailed out 131 letters notifying people at tonight's meeting. Plan staff did recommend approval of this project, but the plan board did unanimously recommend denial of the annexation. Staff would be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Let me ask you a question. So who makes the decision of significant changes in order for our project to come back before the board? Is it the planning department that makes it?
It was planning department in conjunction with the legal department, and basically what the original application that when they originally submitted was a project for 820 lots. And this application, when they submitted, was a total of 689 lots. So we deemed that to be a significant deviation.
That was the only factor that you looked at, was it went from 820 to 689?
That was the determining factor we deemed to be significant by losing over 100 lots, yes.
Any other questions for Doug?
Okay.
Mr. Vest, would you like to do a presentation?
It's okay if I remove my mask?
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor Holloway, members of the City Council. My name is O.C. Vest, and I'm a Stratford land partner for this project, the Greenway at Lake Lee. And very much appreciate you allowing us to come here and present our project tonight. I know we've been here several times before. I've got my civil engineer, Brandon Pridemore, here in the audience with me. I know that you know Brandon. He's presented this project several times. I also have Don Pippin with us tonight. He's our real estate specialist in this area of North Carolina. Very happy to have those guys with us here today. And if there's a question I can't answer, I assure you, one of those other two gentlemen will be able to do so. This is a partial rendering of the Greenway at Lake Lee. This is an earlier version of the actual plan because one of the things that is different now is the location of the amenity center. In this earlier rendering, the amenity center was still on the peninsula near the lake, and of course that's been moved interior to the project based on comments that we've got from neighbors and from staff and from elected officials. This also doesn't reflect the 100-foot wide lots along Lake Lee. This still shows the earlier version. So why did I bring this rendering to show you? Well, what I think is important about it is the property lays out in these three large drainages, natural drainages that drain down to Lake Lee. And what we've always been very adamant about is protecting those natural areas, not only for the trees and the natural drainage that occurs there, but also for the wildlife corridors that take advantage of those areas. But what those corridors also do is it breaks the property into smaller pods so that you don't get this big expanse in any one place of a large number of lots. They're all kind of compartmentalized within the tree canopy of these open space areas. Stratford Land, who is Stratford Land? We're a land investment and development company out of Dallas, Texas. We also have a presence on the East Coast and on the West Coast. We invest in all kinds of real estate. We develop all kinds of real estate from the Carolinas to the West Coast. We've done several projects in North Carolina we're very, very happy with, very proud of, and we're very anxious to add Lake Lee to that list. This doesn't show up very well on the screen, but this is one of the earlier versions of the plan that we developed back in 2010. We bought this property in 2006, so we've owned it a little over 15 years, October of 2006. That is a pretty long investment hold for a company like ours, but we're patient and we try to do the best we can with land, and sometimes real estate just takes time. And Lake Lee has been one of those that has taken a little bit more time than what we had expected, but here we are. But this is an earlier plan. It still showed the commercial areas along 601. We still had the higher density that we think helps energize those commercial areas and provide a buffer to the lower density residential. This was 938 lots on this particular plan. We went to a committee back in the day called the Development Committee that I don't think you have anymore. And this plan basically died at the Development Committee. And what we were told was density needs to come down, lot sizes need to go up, and we need to work harder on our buffers and our adjacencies to our owners. We took all that to heart and came back with this plan. This plan, I think you can really start to see the buffer areas between the little neighborhoods. A lot of these little neighborhoods may only be a street or a cul-de-sac or just a loop street with the natural trees and natural drainage ways that go between them. We still have the commercial areas here, and I'm not going to go through all the details like Doug did. Doug knows this plan, I think, better than any of us. I think he did a great job with that. But it still has the same components that we always had. One question may be, well, why aren't they showing us what they want to do on the commercial? And the reason is because we don't know. We believe we've sized it properly. We've provided the proper access and visibility for it. But when the rooftops go in, the commercial always follows later. And we believe commercial development for this side is probably still 5 or 10 years away, even after the rooftops come in. We're happy to come back at that point, show you a specific site plan for the commercial area and work on that to the satisfaction of the city. I think Doug also did a great job of showing the amenity package. Open space areas, again, are kind of highlighted in this slide. I think it's important to note, I know Doug said it, but 154 acres, almost half of this property is open space. How often do you get that opportunity? And and a lot of this open space it's open space because you can't develop on it, right? Because there are drainages and stream buffers associated with it. Well, the idea was to take advantage of those areas so that we can create something with a lot of open space around it. This is a slide that shows the difference between the 2020 plan and the plan that we're looking at today. So it's a comparison of a plan from 2 years ago to this plan. And you can see that what we did is we increased lot buffers and we decreased the number of lots. When we did the 938 to 820, that was about 131 lot delta drop in number of units. We dropped another 118 to get to the 689 that we're at today. So from start to where we are today, we've reduced the number of lots on this project by 249. I think that's a significant number. I think we're happy with it. I think we're happy with the result, and we would hope that you would be as well. There are a lot of other things that are mentioned here, and I know that Doug kind of ran through these items. I'm not going to belabor all these, but I think these are very important concessions. These are ideas that came out of the neighborhood meeting. They came out of meetings with Doug and his group, and came from, you know, everybody in the area that we were getting feedback from on what they thought was good, what they thought was not so good. We listened to everybody that made comments, and we did our best to accommodate those. One of the big ones was our neighbors across the lake. They wanted to see lots at a minimum of 100 feet wide, and we understood why. I mean, they're R20, we're R20. Minimum lot width on an R20 lot's 100 feet, and so that's why the current plan shows that at 100 feet wide. We also heard that we need to diversify the product type more. We're tired of the cookie cutter houses and elevations. We want to see more side entry and rear entry homes. We did that, and we went to what was recommended to us as 50% of the 65-foot wide lots to be side or rear entry, and we've committed to that in this proposal. And when Doug was flipping through the elevations, you know, I think we all look at those side entry elevations and it's like, yeah, that is much more attractive than just the front entry. But we need a diversity of product types. That's why the townhouse, the 50 front load, the 65s, the 65 with the side entries, and the 100-foot. It's great to have that kind of product mix in a neighborhood. It's that kind of diversity of product type that makes for a sustainable community, if you will. If all the houses are the same size and the same shape, you just don't get any diversity in that product type. One of the questions we got in several of our neighborhood meetings was about bald eagles. And we knew that we had investigated that option before we bought the property. That's been part of our due diligence, is threatened endangered species reviews and reports. And of course we go back and look, and sure enough there were no nests, active or otherwise, in that report. But we thought, you know what, it's been 10 years, let's go look again. And so we did. And we asked Allison Medford with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission to go out and do a study, and she did. And while she told us it's not uncommon to see bald eagles in this area, we don't have any active or inactive nest on our property, which is the trigger for any kind of development regulatory action that would need to be taken. So again, I think that was a good comment that came out of our meeting with our neighborhoods, and we just wanted to make sure that they understood that we followed up on that. Likewise with traffic, an extensive TIA that was performed for the property. I'm not going to go through everything that Doug did. He did a great job showing all the improvements that are necessary. You know, a lot of times when you're not adjacent to a highway, you don't have the luxury of being able to make the improvements you need to support your project. In our case, we're directly adjacent to 601. We can do the intersections, we can do the traffic signals, we can do the lane striping, and we can even do the improvements at 601 and 74 to help that situation, which is what our TIA requires. So again, it's expensive, but it's what it takes to make the project work from a traffic standpoint. This is an example, or basically just a comparison of the zoning that we have today, R20, versus the conditional district zoning that we're asking for. And I think there's quite a few really compelling things here that I would like to point out, because, and I know Doug did a great job telling you about the project, but I'm going to put a little bit more sales pitch on it than he probably would. And of course, open space to me is the big item. If we stay R20, which we are today, we're not required to provide any open space. So if we did R20 lots, all the land on this 340 acres would be within a private lot, and that private lot owner would be able to do whatever that private lot owner is allowed to do, which would include cutting down trees. We're saving 154 acres, 45.6% of the property in open space that would be owned by the HOA and protected in perpetuity. There are no perimeter buffers required under R20, and we're providing 25 and 50-foot buffers. I think Doug did a great job pointing where those are. Likewise, with the lake buffers, 30 and 35 feet is required. We're doing 50 to 100 feet. Stream buffers, 35 feet required. We're doing 50 feet in all stream buffer areas and more than that in some other areas. And I know I keep talking about the open space, and the number I think is compelling, but what's going in this open space I think is equally as compelling. The amenity centers that we're providing, we're doing a central amenity with pool, cabana, restrooms, playground, all those things that a neighborhood needs to have a central gathering spot. It's very important for a community. HOA meetings, birthday parties, all those things that happen in this neighborhood will happen there. And it's great that they have a place to do that. Of the 6 improved amenity locations, again, 4 of those are active with playgrounds, fitness centers. 2 of them are passive areas because one has a particular view of the lake that we wanted to preserve, and we wanted to keep it a little bit more serene for that reason. But these, and they're all connected by a trail system that runs through the entire property and links all the different neighborhoods, all the different amenity centers, as well as linking up to the retail area. One thing we've learned about amenities in master plan communities is trails is the #1 thing people want, but they want them to connect to something. Don't just give us a wide sidewalk on a road. Connect it to parks, connect it to shopping and the neighborhoods and the amenities, and that's what we've done with our trail system. Under R20, there's no stormwater controls or water quality that's required. We're going to great extents to preserve natural open space in these drainages to improve the water quality that drains into Lake Lee. We're all reminded Lake Lee is a drinking water source for the city of Monroe, and we take that responsibility very seriously. We're also offering architectural control. Again, Doug went through those examples, and all the different items that we're doing to make sure that we're meeting the architectural requirements of the city, we're committing to do with the conditional district would not be required under R20. We're doing larger street trees. One thing we've learned about how do you create a street scene that really means something, even day one? You got to plant a tree bigger than 1.5 inch caliber. And so we're committing to twice that, 3-inch caliber trees at planting for all of our street trees to start to give at least some canopy to the sidewalk areas and then in the future into the street. And then, of course, on the front yards of each home, we are committing to 2 front yard trees. That's about as much as you can do in a front yard, especially with the robust street tree program that we have without getting into an overcrowding situation. But again, not required under R20. We believe we've developed a proposal that has a density very similar to what we would otherwise develop under R20. Under R20, we have 340 acres at 2 per acre. That's 680 lots. Our proposal is 689. We're almost at the exact same number, but with all the amenities, with all the architectural controls, that would truly make this a great community. So we believe our proposal is a better deal for the city. We believe it's a better deal for this community. And we hope that we've listened to our neighbors and we've accommodated the buffers and increase lot sizes that they'd asked for. I'll stop talking now, but we're all here and available for questions, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to be your track builder?
We haven't picked a builder yet until we get the zoning approved, because that will determine which one we go with. But I can tell you there's great interest.
Any other questions for Mr. West? Thank you, sir. Good
Thank you, Mayor.
presentation. This is a public hearing, and we have some people that have signed up in opposition. Pam, you're first.
Happy New Year, everybody. Just pass them around, please.
I'm sorry, no, that, unless that was submitted to council, to the clerk, was that submitted to the clerk?
I think it was emailed to us. I sent it you all. I'm just giving you a hard copy just to have it on file.
Okay, the
That's all.
council's already seen it, but if council wants to look at it again.
Before my 3 minutes start, can I just address 2 items that were mentioned?
Give your name and address, please, Pam.
Pardon me? Oh, my name is Pam Duda, 821 Victorian Lane. Could I just address 2 quick things before my 3 minutes starts? So we were all under the understanding that this is a resubmission of the same 689. I have paperwork to prove that. I was told, and I have paperwork to prove this, that the difference was due to garage changes. It was a technical whatever, but they said it was supposed to be something that had to be resubmitted. Not 800 and whatever to 689. I've been dealing with this since February, so I know what I'm talking about. And the bald eagle study, I asked for it. They did not. Just want to make clarification. Thank you. So, good evening, Mayor, Council, Planning Department, and City officials. I'm here representing 79 people across 59 families. Anybody here with me on this? Thank you. There probably were more, but they left because of the overflow. So like I said, this is a resubmission within less than 1 year of original submission. Same density, same layout, except for some garage changes. The original was voted down by council in 2021, and if I recall correctly, Councilman Gordon, I think you were the one who made the first motion to reject it. Thank you. Planning Board voted the resubmission down 9-0 in September of last year. I'm not going to read through the opposition statement. I'm just going to make some key points here. We are not opposing a development on this property. We've been saying this from the beginning. We're opposing the size, the density, and the layout. This greenway is not green. It focuses more on quantity rather than quality. This is not smart growth for this town. It's on a lake, guys. It's the only one that's being developed on a lake. 5 streams, natural waterways and barriers with an established ecosystem, not to mention the drinking water. And yes, there are eagles. Maybe there might not be nests, but there's eagles. The calculation of the density stats is based on the gross acreage. But in actuality, the total number of these houses are being crammed in on the net buildable acres of 169. And if you do the calculation, that's 4 to 1. The density layout is more appropriate for an area off of the 74 bypass. Wouldn't you think? It has more accessibility to roads, and it's more direct and better established. We're curious why all the developments being introduced and built to date have to be clustered density layouts. We have an opportunity to offer the community-style layout with larger lot size, less density, based on the current zoning of this property. There is already Ryan Homes cluster across the street, so why can't we offer other home sizes and other choices? The owner-developer for this property isn't even a resident of North Carolina and won't ever live in our community and will never experience the impact, be it negative or positive, on this. But I do respect the fact that they did meet with us and have conversations and listen to us. So in closing, it's a new year with a new mayor and council. You have a fresh start to send a message and set a precedent to define smart growth for all of Monroe. Please don't give all the keys away to the city, to the developers. Please consider our inputs for your decisions. We feel less is more in this case and ask you to vote no to the entire resubmission and consider enforcing the current R20, R40 for this property in the future, we'll take our chances. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Greg Parsons, please.
Good evening. My name is Greg Parsons. My wife Sherry and I live at 1747 Lisa Lynn Drive, Monroe. And it'd be nice if Doug could leave slide number 3 of his map up. It shows, I'd just like to show where we live. My wife has lived here for 20 years in this same house.
You tell me to stop where you want me to stop at.
That's good. That's good. Perfect.
Right there?
That's good.
Okay.
So right now, when we walk out, and I'll just kind of focus on density. When we go out our house, if we look across the street, we see one house and a neighbor. We go to the right, we see one house and a neighbor. We go to the left, we see one house and a neighbor. We go to the back, we see 380 acres of woods. This is our house right here. This is our property. It's 194 feet from this property line to this property line. If you extend that out, when we walk out the back of the house, if this goes forward, I'm going to look at 12 condos. Just on my property line, I'll be looking at 12 condos. And just to address the elevations, why do they never show an elevation of more than one house? Is there like only 5 feet from the property line? Why not show a true representation of the elevation? But density, I mean, we'll not go through that or whatever. Everybody's already done that. But, you know, why do people come to Monroe? They don't come, I don't think, I didn't come for something like this. And why did Stratford Land have to come to the city to try to get this approved? Why couldn't they do it with the county? Well, the county don't have the infrastructure. They're tapped out. How much longer before the city of Monroe is going to be tapped out with water and sewer services? I understand there's the Catawba River project, but let's not use that as a crutch or workaround to address the Lake Lee drinking water. So, you know, we're not for this, and you know, just to play on words, I guess, when I first came in, the gentleman out there asked me, you going to vote, or you going to speak for or against? And originally I said against, but I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm for Greenway now. Because Webster says a definition of a greenway is a corridor of undeveloped land preserved for recreational use or environmental protection. That's what a greenway is. And somebody mentioned earlier about the city, maybe, or the county coming up with a plan to help somebody sell their property. This would be a good opportunity for the city to approach the county, which don't have the infrastructure to support this type of development, and maybe develop that into a greenway, a King Creek Park type development or whatever.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
All my supporters, I said I'd speak. So I followed this project with Pam from the get-go. And I think it comes back to the same thing. It was denied once by council. I know there were some changes to it. And it was denied unanimously by the planning board. I think you need to take all that into consideration before approving this. There's a reason why we have those planning boards, and we need to listen to them. Yes, you can go against what they say, but you should have significant reasons to do so. So I appreciate it.
Okay, Pam Taylor, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Pam Taylor, and I live at 902 Bridgewater Drive in Monroe, which is right across from the new development. For the following reasons, this high-density, low square footage development is bad for the area, the specific land, it's bad for the lake, and it's bad for the wildlife and the residents of the surrounding areas as well as the city. This development will result in the destruction of wildlife habitats and wildlife. It will add to the further pollution of the city reservoir, Lake Lee, which is already does not meet the clean air, clean water standards. It will increase the noise pollution. On my property, there is constant noise from Route 74. And for all the destruction of the trees and the green space, the shrubs and the growth, it will increase the noise pollution in the area for my property as well as the other residents. Increase in light pollution. All of this green space, the sitting areas, the recreation areas will have lights on probably all night long. So this will increase those animals that survive the demolition and the cutting of the trees to make way for this development. The wildlife that survive will probably, many of them will die additional deaths from the light pollution and the water pollution and the air pollution. I think I know this is not politically correct, but where you have low price housing, you have high density housing, you have low price housing, I think this type of development will invite crime and will require the increase in costs for additional police officers. Also, you have the discussion of the changes that would be needed to address the traffic situations, the new traffic lights. I think you'll have a lot of additional traffic accidents. It's a very challenging area to drive near that hilltop area now, and with all the lights and the additional lanes, I think you're going to have more traffic accidents, and you'll also have the cost of all that additional infrastructure. So for all of these reasons, I ask you to please vote no to this development, the annexation and the development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. William McKinney again, please. Ms. Kimmy. Is he still in the room or next? Is he outside, sir?
He probably left the other petition thing through.
Room's empty, Mr. Mayor. That room's empty, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Okay, Robert Supernall.
Thank you. If it please the council, my name is Robert Supernall. I reside at 1705 Watersmark Drive, directly across the lake from what is proposed to be phase 1 of this project. 20 years ago, I was looking for a home that had a balance between man's needs and nature's needs, and I found that in the Bridgewater development. I was hoping, as I bought that piece of property 20 years ago, that if there was going to be a development on the county property across the lake from us, that county property would preserve the R20 designation, and that it would be reasonable building that would essentially mirror what we had in Bridgewater. That is, meeting nature's needs as well as man's needs. I can't tell you the joy that we experience on a daily basis, and I underscore daily basis, in watching the 7 bald eagles fish in the lake, swooping down and spearing unsuspecting bluegill. There's still a place in Union County where you can experience that wonder. And I'd invite anybody to come to my property to watch it on a daily basis. Does it bother any of you when Mr. Brett says that the Department of Transportation has said they might or probably could squeeze another turning lane into, isn't that just a little too iffy for you to hang your hat on? Maybe they could squeeze. Are they talking about a shoehorn or just what? I don't know. I don't oppose development of the property, and I have great appreciation for the financial commitment that's been made by these gentlemen for that particular land. But quite frankly, it's just too big, too dense. Some of the statistics of an average square foot of the lots of 2,225, awfully small for that beautiful, pristine area. This morning I was just reminded of the old country song that Joni Mitchell wrote in 1970. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got until it's gone? Now, this is a paradise. This is a paradise for wildlife. And the last line in Joni Mitchell's song is, "They paved paradise and turned it into a parking lot." That's a gross overstatement of what is being planned, but it's an understatement in what the property owners that I've networked with feel about this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, there being no other comments, I'll close this public hearing and move to take action.
I'll make a motion that the petition did not meet the requirements.
I'm sorry.
Which your Councilmember James, you're just saying that it did not meet, are you talking about the annexation, is that correct? So you're saying that that the annexation petition does not meet the requirements. I just want to make sure, because your voice trailed out.
I know. Trying my best.
We have a motion that the petition did not meet the requirements. Is there a second?
I'm going to second that. I hear a lot of emotions tonight. I appreciate those of you that have stayed here well beyond 9 p.m. to be heard. And I've heard from a lot of you by email as well. I don't know how this vote's going to turn out in the end, but for now, I'm going to second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of the motion that the petition did not meet the requirements, signify by raising your hand. Okay. Those that do not feel that way, raise your hand. Okay.
Mayor, I think in terms of, to make sure there is no doubt that now that it has failed to be annexed, you may wish to have a motion to deny the rezoning, the motion to deny the zoning map amendment. That way I think you've got then a clear denial if that is where you want to go, because you now can't.
I'll make a second.
Okay, who made the motion?
Carr.
Motion was
James made the motion, and I'm sorry. Carr made the motion, James made the second.
okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your hand. And those opposed likewise. Okay.
Thank you. And just to make sure the council is aware, you denied the annexation and then you denied the zoning map amendment. That makes it absolutely clear there was a denial of the petition, and it therefore cannot return unless, again, there's a further substantial change, which I don't know if we'll see.
Thank y'all very much.
Should I say one last thing before we go?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, again, we're very disappointed. I mean, we hear loud and clear what people say about, well, we got our home and we don't want anybody else to come in and ruin what we have. I understand that. But if we take that approach on every zoning case, there'll be precious few projects that ever get approved. We have a commitment. We're a land development company. We're not a park building company. And we're not a charitable contribution. We're under the obligation to develop this property. And if we can't get the city to help us with zoning that we believe makes more sense than developing under R20, that we don't have any other choice but to go R20. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. I always believe in being transparent and honest and straightforward with everybody I'm doing business with. But that will be our intention, will be to go forward with an R20 zone, with an R20 development.
And he is correct, just so that the council understands. He is correct for those portions in the ETJ and in the city. By right zoning would allow that. The only portion it doesn't apply to is what would be in the county, and then that depends on what the county zoning is. So making sure everyone is aware that he is indeed correct, that they could proceed under their by right.
But you will have to go to the county and get water and sewer, is that correct?
Only for the county portion, but not for the city portion, and then you do that for the city, for the ETJ portion, and then what's in the county.
And we could develop our own water and sewer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Best.
Great. Thank you very much.
Next is a zoning map amendment request to rezone properties located at the intersection of East Avenue and Stafford Street Extension and 2026 Skyway Drive. Doug?
Yes.
Mayor, why don't you, since you have a lot of folks leaving, maybe you should give a couple of moments.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're good, Ms. Taylor.
Stay?
No, we're fine. Thank you.
You ready? Okay. This was tabled from the November meeting. I think it was November 17th. But this is the rezoning for the property located at 2026 Skyway Drive, and obviously the property along the back side of that too that's vacant. This is the aerial map of the property. The section properties are outlined in blue. It includes properties right here at front on Skyway Drive, as well as a large property that bisects Stafford Extension, as well as have frontage on East Avenue. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from R20 residential low density to general industrial. This is a zone map of the area. The area is all currently zoned R20 right now. The adjacent properties to the north are R20. To the east would be GI general industrial. To the south would be R20 as well, and then to the west would be R20 and GB general business. This is the land use plan of the area. The projected land use for the area is predominantly to be industrial with community corridors like retail sales and service. So the request is consistent with land development plan. And just remind you, since this is the general rezoning like conditional districts that we've been doing tonight, there's no site plan required for the project. It's basically just a request to go from R20 to general industrial. This project was recommended denial by the planning board, but staff does recommend approval. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any, and the applicant's here to make a presentation as well.
Any questions for Doug regarding this? Okay, thank you, sir. This is a,
Actually, the presentation from the applicant, I believe.
oh, I'm sorry.
But you've got, I think Ms. Lenz is here to do that.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Ms. Williams.
No apology needed. It's been a long night for all of us.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Doug. Good evening. Brittany Lenz, 1420 East 7th Street, Charlotte. Tonight I'm representing Suncap Property Group. And with me tonight from Suncap, I have Darius Alexi and Van Boyette, as well as representing the property owner. I have Wes Falk here as well. So I'll try to be really brief with you guys. I know it's been a long night for everyone. I'll start by going in the weeds really quickly, if you'll bear with me. And then I'm just, hopefully within just a minute, wrap up everything else. So I want to start by saying, I know Doug has oriented you to the site. So I want to start by saying, we actually are coming before you with a slightly revised request. Up through today, we've been talking with the adjacent property owners, and some of them are family members of the property owner and seller of the parcel we're considering. And what we're hearing and what we're understanding is there's some concern about the zoning specifically related, from my understanding, the area that you kind of see in red that's next to their single-family home parcels, kind of planned north. So what we had been saying all along, we're calling this kind of the lake parcel, so it's on the opposite side of a lake. And we've been saying, that area, you're not going to have an industrial building in your backyard. There are buffer requirements. Also, just geometrically, the building footprint, you're not going to have an industrial building on that side of the lake. There's not enough room. Those discussions have evolved, and we want to be, putting our best foot forward, putting our best efforts in talking with these family members and adjacent owners. So our request in front of you tonight is actually to pull out that area from the rezoning request. So we would now, if you can see my cursor, only be talking about this area back behind the area in red. So this area that's in red, we would be excluding from the rezoning. It stays its current zoning. It would be, the area that's touching those property owners. And I know some of them might be here to speak tonight. I'm hopeful that is great progress in a direction that'll help comfort them for this rezoning. But so essentially, originally SunCap said we won't build on it. Then they said we won't buy it. They removed that area from the purchase agreement, and now we're saying we won't even rezone it. So really putting an effort of good faith here for that particular portion. So that's me getting in the weeds. This survey has been provided to the city attorney and to planning staff, so I'll defer to the city attorney on how that has to be handled from a motion standpoint, but wanted to get that out in front of you, that we're really hopeful that this has quelled the concerns of the adjacent owners. So stepping back now, very briefly, I just want to hit on the adopted area plan that I know Doug already went through, but this is projected to be an industrial site. So when the land use plan was evaluated by planning staff, they decided that an industrial zoning was appropriate for this site. That plan was adopted by city council, that industrial is the appropriate use for this site. Interesting how we got here. So I don't need to tell you guys about the status of the UDO, but we met with the Economic Development Department and planning staff in the late summer and gave them this proposal for an industrial kind of economic development play here in Monroe. And they said, great, well, the UDO is on the way, and the remapping process targets this as industrial. It'll essentially do it for you. As you all know, even better than I do, that has not occurred yet. And the timing delays have run across our contractual delays. And at this point, we just need to be on our own timeline and understand if this project is viable, rather than, a project somewhere else outside of Monroe that would have to be taken into consideration otherwise. So our proposed zoning is for industrial. We are pursuing the conventional general industrial district. I think it's important to note that this is a light industrial district, so no noxious uses. You're not doing the heavy manufacturing or really the heavy noxious uses. Also, my understanding is the city has purchased a site to the east of this one that is also targeted for industrial. So this is kind of developing into an industrial area. And I'll just wrap up briefly. I know it's a late night for everyone. We do consider this an important economic development play for Monroe. I know it's a conventional request, but it doesn't take much imagination to understand that a property of this size and of this caliber from SunCap, a well-known property group, that this is an economic development play. A lot of you here on the board have helped to build Monroe and make it someplace that these jobs and employment opportunities want to come here, these business opportunities. So I would just advocate that this is an increase for the tax base. This is an increase in jobs for Monroe. And in my opinion, I think it would spur on additional economic development opportunities for Monroe as well. So we're excited for this. We think it fits with the land use plan. We've really taken some great strides to kind of hopefully quell the concerns of the adjacent neighbors and stay outside their backyard. So with that, I will wrap up and ask if you all have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Lenz? I just have one. What size is the acreage taken out of the original?
Let me see if it's easy enough to read. If not, I might defer to some. 22.4 acres, I'm told. Thank you.
So we're looking at about 178 that are going to be rezoned.
There's 160
Now down to 140.
Oh, okay. Okay.
As you can tell, this just happened today, so I didn't have my numbers on top of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vance. At this time, I'll call people to the lectern who have signed up to speak in favor of the project. We'll start off with retiring Barbara Falk here.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. I am Barbara Plyler Falk. I live at 2038 Skyway Drive in Monroe. I'm the oldest child of the property owner, Dorothy Moser Plyler, and I'm here to represent my sister Diane, my brother Alton, and the children of my late brother Al. Prior to, and I'll be quick, prior to our father's passing in 2016, he was fully aware that the farmland would be one day up for sale and would be a desirable piece of property for the development of Monroe and Union County. His lifelong business experience has taught him that change is inevitable and that growth will come. He told me before his passing that he endorsed the sale of the land, however it came to be, that he was in favor of it, and that he knew that he supported the decision of our mother, the decision that she would make after he passed away. My siblings and I collectively and unanimously support our mother's desire to rezone the property and move forward with the development of the property that is before you. I have here a sworn and notarized statement. I'm not certain how that process goes. I'll be happy to share it with each of you, however I'm supposed to do that. But it is signed by her, notarized in her support of this project, 100% support. Do I just give it to somebody, or do I keep it or give it to you later, or what?
Just hold on to it.
Hold on to it.
Because
Hold on to it.
we are aware that your attorney did mention this to us. And
Okay, so you're
of
aware
the
of
thing.
it. Okay. So we're here to
I may not
support.
have received it, but staff is aware.
We did.
Okay, you're aware of it.
Well, actually, council did receive it, so.
Well, we're here to support our mother and our father and each other. And we're not united in the endorsement of this project. Thank you all.
Thank you, Barbara. Wes, did you want to speak?
I defer my comments to my mother. I believe that accurately represents the sentiments of the family and represents support of the rezoning request.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Oleski?
Hello, my name is Darius Alexi with Suncap Property Group, represent the applicant. Probably the least important person in the room right now. So we're here to, we have a user that we think would fit for the municipality at this location, subject to rezoning. I'm here for questions, but, welcome to listen to everybody else's comments.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Those speaking against Emily, I'm sorry, man, I don't know your last name, but I can't read.
Mayor and Councilman, my name is Donna Plyler. I'm married to Aaron Plyler Jr. We live at 2040 Skyway Drive, and we've lived there for 40 years. When this whole process of selling the land started, there was some confusion. On July the 10th, Mrs. Plyler said that she was not aware that the lake was included. We realized that the land behind our house was included, and it is in that parcel. We are not against the sale of the land at all. We just want to make sure that the land behind our home and the water is not included. My only concern with this is we learned about this map on December the 16th. I reached out to Wes Falk and asked him when the surveyor would be back out, because I know for sure that unless this is surveyed and approved by the planning department and given a parcel ID number recorded, that it will not stand alone. And my question is, I don't know when that's going to be done. We have been trying to get that done since July the 10th. And when we walked in tonight, Wes let us know that they were going to carve out this map, and it was not going to be rezoned or request to be rezoned industrial. I guess the question would be for Doug Britt, if that's, if having this without a survey is important, or we just found out about this map and them taking it out of the rezoning when we walked through the doors tonight.
Mayor, to the extent there's a question, and instead of Mr. Britt answering it, let me go ahead and note that we do not believe there is an issue, that carving it out is something, an option that would be there. It can be dealt with in terms of as they move forward in the process, but the key is from a rezoning standpoint, you can rezone this property and carve out that, and we do not believe that's an issue. Both Mr. Britt and I discussed the issue earlier, and he and I agree.
Yeah, it can be carved out. There's not a problem with being subdivided out. They'll just go through the subdivision process for the city, but it can be subdivided out without a problem.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure. We have lived there for 40 years. My 3 children who are adults, I have grandchildren. We all live in the city of Monroe. We do not plan to move. It's our home. It's been our home for over 40 years. And we live on the lake. We use the lake. We're proud of it. And we love it very much. It's a part of our life. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Aaron, did you want to speak? Okay. Okay, that,
I'm Emily. You called me first.
I'm sorry.
Emily Parks, Plowler Parks. I live at 2042 Skyway Drive. I grew up at 2040 Skyway Drive, right beside my parents. And I just want to make sure that when this is approved to be rezoned industrial, my backyard and the lake is not a part of that rezoning. I want it to stay as it is current day. I'm not opposed to the other portion being rezoned, but I have to protect my property. I've got 2 young kids, and if my property were included, it would be devastating to my property value. So, I mean, if I can have your word that my property is not going to be impacted in the way of being zoned industrial, I will be fine with that, and I won't protest it, but I just have to make sure that that happens.
Mayor, I think we have noted that that the property in red is not in there.
Okay.
I believe the speaker's property was not part of the rezoning to start with, but this absolutely makes clear that the property behind the speaker's house is not part of it, and that the lake has been carved out.
Okay.
So it's what we have said it is.
And I do have an additional question. On the other side of the lake, is there any type of buffer that the buyers are going to have to adhere to on the other side of the lake?
They will have to meet requirements from the city's zoning ordinance, our stormwater ordinance, and any other issues with DEQ. So they will have to deal with those issues.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
thank you, Emma. Okay, being no other comments, I'll close the public hearing and move.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt resolution approving land development plan compliance.
Second.
Mayor, if I might, Councilmember Kazai, would you be willing to add to your motion and that your approval excludes the portion in red on the map provided by the applicant?
As you just said, I so move it.
Outstanding.
Got a motion and seconded by Mr. Carr. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.106?
And I would ask that if you do have that motion, that it also that the motion is to exclude the portion in red on the map provided by the applicant.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.106, and that is to include all in red is excluded.
I'll second it.
Second. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.98, including the
Or
exemption of-
excluding the
excluding the property outlined in red?
So moved.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
A second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Good. Thank you very much. That takes us to that. Thank you, Ms. Mills.
Thank you for your patience.
And now I'll recognize Brian Bourne to present a special Union County work group
All right.
presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. I've taken this item on behalf of Russ Colbath, who couldn't be with us tonight. Council is requested to replace outgoing Councilmember McGee on the joint work group with Union County to study opportunities for collaboration on mutual water and wastewater needs. On May 20th, the special City Council joint meeting at the Union County Board of Commissioners, Council approved forming a work group to study opportunities to collaborate with Union County on mutual water and wastewater needs. The proposal to form a work group made up of city county staff and 2 elected officials from both City Council and the Board of County Commissioners was made. At the June 2021 council meeting, council members McGee and Gordon were elected to serve on the work group. Staff is requesting council nominate a replacement for outgoing council member McGee to serve on this work group.
Interim City Manager, I move that we appoint Councilwoman Thompson.
Motion to appoint Julie Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed likewise. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Julie.
Councilmember James, did you vote on that item? Was that the clerk?
Thank you, Rich.
We're just trying to make sure. Look at the clerk. Thank you.
Yeah, at this time, I'll also ask Interim City Manager Warren to bring item 20, the discontinuance of submission of electronic written public period comments and electronic written public hearing comments.
All right, thank you again, Mayor. The electronic written public period comments and electronic written public hearing comments were temporarily put into place beginning with COVID. Before the pandemic and before the city started remote meetings, there were no electronic public comments or electronic public hearing statements. This was put into place to ensure that citizens had an avenue to make their voices heard and to allow the council to continue to hold the public comment period required under North Carolina General Statute 160A-81.1. Just to make this clear, a citizen will have the same right to do what they did before March of 2020. This in no way infringes or limits a citizen's right to contact their elected officials via an email, phone, written correspondence, or an in-person meeting. And I don't think any of our citizens are shy about doing that. This item only eliminates the electronic form submission process created temporarily to meet statutory requirements for remote meetings during the pandemic. And in the event council should return to remote meetings, the electronic written comment format would be reinstated.
Councilwoman James got a question. So why just leave it there? I'm saying what would it hurt if we just leave it the way it is?
Just to provide an example of what happens, villages at Rocky River. We had a total of 73 comments. Only 16 could be accepted. 57 did not live in the city. One of the 57 that did not live in the city showed up to speak. There were 2 incomplete forms. This requires the verification of addresses with planning staff. It requires responding to these individuals, explaining the confusion as to why comments cannot be accepted or whatever the case is, and receiving duplicate comments from the same address. This puts an extreme burden on the clerk's office. There are 2 people there in the clerk's office that work on this one Villages of Rocky River. Bridget alone spent 16 hours of time taking care of this process. That does not include the time of our planning department that was involved, our attorney's office, or our public information office. Citizens have access. They make their views known. They can appear in person. This in no way infringes on any of that. And we're just returning. This was something temporary due to COVID. There's many things that have been temporary during COVID. Everyone wants to return back to normal. This is, I think, just part of that process.
How are other municipalities handling this situation? Are they receiving electronic written forms?
Municipalities have the option of handling it any way they choose in order to meet the statute. This is the way Monroe chose to handle this.
And what we are aware of, Councilmember James, is that many municipalities are going back to their prior, which did not include, in some cases, you'd have a voicemail number being used that required the clerk to transcribe the minutes. That's gone. You'd have others where they would accept written electronic submissions. That's gone. They've now said folks have to, if the council is meeting in person, you should come in person. So the majority of places have now done that. We'll obviously see some changes as we go back to remote meetings in some places, but others are returning to the ways things were done prior to March of 2020.
So are we saying that citizens still have the right to email?
That's exactly what the interim manager said. He said citizens can still email you, which they've had no problem doing, as we've noticed over the last few weeks. They have no problem coming in and submitting a written comment if they submit it on a rezoning in accordance with the statutory requirements. They are able to do that. What they can't do is be a public comment speaker from a keyboard. They have to actually come in and speak for the public comment period. If they wish to speak on a public hearing that is not a rezoning, they have to come in and do that. That is exactly what everyone had to do in March of 2020 and earlier.
Does that meet the ADA?
And I'm sorry, this is for council, and so I mean it's so the answer to your question, Councilmember James, is it's permitted. It is what other places are doing, and it does not inhibit the rights of individuals.
They can still call, email, write, whatever they like.
And don't worry, they will do all those things.
Will the email be attached to the minutes?
And as I was saying, this is for council. The council will continue to receive what they've received. If they receive minutes, if they receive emails or documents, that's up to them to note that. However, from a standpoint of what's in the record, we provide what is permitted under state law. Not because someone, I think, would suggest that we're only following the minimum of state law. It is more of if you start messing around with the requirements of what state law permits, you then have your decisions challengeable in court, which is, I think, something council does not want. Council prefers their process to be what their process is.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Move and second. All those in favor of approving it, excuse me, raise your hand, please. Opposed likewise? Okay, motion carries then. Okay.
Mayor, I have one thing before we move to item 21, if I may. And I am sorry I didn't do this earlier because it's 10 o'clock and I wanted a lot of the city staff to hear this. We had a significant gas line cut about a week ago at Rocky River and Seacrest Shortcut. And I just want to take the time to give a shout out to David LaCour in the gas division, Ron Fowler at the fire department, Lieutenant Schultes with the police department, and a number of police officers that were out there directing traffic, a number of firefighters that were out there. And we're talking out there for over 48 hours. This was during all evening hours, all daytime hours. NCDOT assisted, Union County Emergency Management assisted, and the collaboration of all of these agencies resulted in 10,000 customers not losing gas. That is a big, huge deal because it was very cold those nights. I know that for a fact because I went out there to see for myself what was going on. And to see the collaboration of our city staff and our city manager did a great job. All of our city staff did an outstanding job. That's what separates us from not only being a good city, but a great city. And I think it's important to recognize that. And again, a lot of people heat their homes with gas. A lot of people cook with gas. This could have been a really bad thing for people to lose the ability to heat their homes on those nights, and we kept everybody in service, and I think it warrants saying great job to our staff.
Thank you, Gary. That's well chosen words. So I think we saw the pictures of the size of that gas line, and it could have been.
It was a major incident.
It was amazing undertaking that they did, but not alone the residents, but it also avoided closing restaurants and schools and other facilities that may have had a need for gas. You can't wash the dishes with hot water. You can't be open.
And certainly thank you to our staff tonight for a late night. I know we've got a number of staff that have stayed late, and we appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
I'd like to ask a volunteer to read the motion to go into closed session.
I move to go into closed session in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes, Sections 143-318-11 and 1 and 4 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or of the United States or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, and to discuss matters related to the location or expansion of business.
Okay, I have a motion. That is a motion. Seconded by Mr. Carr. Those in favor signify by raising your hand, please.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Gentlemen, thank you for your attendance.